All right, Bardy. It's been a while, as in maybe 3 weeks since our last podcast.
I don't know. Has it been a week, 3 weeks, or a month, or it feels like it's been forever because so much has happened.
Yeah, right after our first podcast, literally the next day, you decided to raffle off your Acid Jordan Ape. So do you wanna discuss that a little bit?
Yeah. So basically, like I had talked to you about it, and I had been thinking about doing this for a long time, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna raffle this off. And at first, I was like not sure if it was gonna fill. I was, but once I saw that there was a pretty big purchase for this golden degen ape, it was a golden McDegen for around 1,350 Solana. I was like, you know what? Like, and there was a lot of momentum behind DAA, and I was like, I think I'm going to try to raffle this off. There's probably not a better time to do this. And I just want to have the liquid soul because I'm really bullish on the value of Solana going up and not as bullish on the value of NFTs in general going up in soul value at the moment, right? So I was like, I'm just going to hold soul value. And also, in the event that soul ends up pumping like pretty hard, then that's an opportunity to swap apes. So, or to get a new ape basically. And so I was like, yeah, let's just do it. And that was absolutely wild because I put up the raffle for 2,000 soul. I kind of came out guns blazing. I was like, all right, I'm going to, I made a bunch of extra conditions, which is not normal. I actually innovated, and now a bunch of people have tried to copy me. Basically, by saying, okay, if you retweet this tweet, I'll get one lucky winner gets a 30 soul, and then also if you one lucky raffle ticket holder will get a DGen 8 floor, basically a 60 soul payoff, and then whoever has the most tickets purchased will also get 60 soul. And then I did like kickbacks and all this stuff to try to add game theory to it, and that shit filled out. I actually got the 2,000 soul, which is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, you were doing like a daily giveaway too, right?
Yeah, so basically, well, what I wanted to do was I wanted to incentivize people to basically buy as many tickets as they could and kind of get into a competition with each other a little bit, to basically ensure that there was a lot of continued momentum towards ticket purchases. So what I did was I said, okay, whoever has the most tickets purchased at this time of night, each night for the next 6 nights, will get a 10 Solana kickback. And also, at the end of the raffle, if the raffle fills, then they'll also get a floor DGen ape. And so in theory, it makes a lot of sense to compete for that highest ticket holder purchase because it's plus EV if you get the kickbacks and the floor DGen ape, and you get a ton of your soul back, basically.
Yeah. Do you know what the highest soul bid was? I guess, or who held the most tickets? I mean.
So for a cool period of time, it was this guy named DeFi Farmer Alex, and he has this DGen ape that I really want. It's a McDegen with the love glasses, and he's also drinking a soda. And I'm like, oh man, I want this one so bad. Like, if there was one DGen ape I could have from the McDegens, it's that one, or obviously like a really nice one, like one of the mythics. But so he paid 175 soul like on the second day. He was like, boom, 175 soul. But then what ended up happening was on the very last day, people just started aping in like crazy because I ended up adding one final incentive, which was, okay, the final incentive is I'll fractionalize my main DGen ape, the one with the halo and the crayons. And what we'll do is I'll give out 10% no matter what to all raffle ticket holders. And then it just went crazy, and the raffle filled like 4 hours in advance of the finale. Like it was like 400, 500 soul, even 600 soul purchased on that day. And someone actually purchased like 240 soul worth of tickets. And so they ended up beating DeFi Farmer Alex on the very last day. And that was pretty wild.
What a snipe. That's mind blowing to me. I've entered quite a few raffles and I've lost all of them, which my fucking luck is just terrible on that.
Yeah.
But I was also surprised when I saw your raffle fill at a full 2,000 soul. But then again, you did have a shit ton of incentives. Like giving a floor ape is just like, obviously you just made 2,000 soul, so it's an extra 60 soul giveaway. So it's a nice little perk. Speaking of how people are kind of copying you with this. I guess I could have your thoughts on this. So I want to grow a following kind of quickly, and it's kind of funny to me how many people enter a like even like a 2 Solana giveaway where you're like, follow my account, retweet this, tag somebody, and you get entered into a chance to win 2 Sol. I low key kind of want to do that just to see how many more followers I can gain from it. What are your thoughts? To me though, it's kind of corny to do that, but it is also an easy, really easy way to spend not that much money to get to accrue a following.
So I'm not an expert on this shit, to be honest, because the truth of the matter is, like, when I first started out, I had pretty much no followers. But the thing is I had a ton of capital at the time, and I wasn't really paying too much NFTs. I ended up randomly participating in, well, so no, actually before that. So I started up my Twitter account, this one in 2021, January. Um, I was basically just, shilling Solana on the timeline. No one was following me. No one was paying attention. I was charting and stuff like that, but like no one was really, watching my account. And then, I started, shilling Cope. I was a big fan of this token called Cope that was made by this guy named Syri or C, but ended up being this like giant scam. But luckily, I didn't, I wasn't holding the bag forever. I didn't realize it was this giant scam. He just kind of rugged, and that was it. But fortunately, I made it out in one piece. Made quite a profit on that one. But that's crypto. You have to, the sand is always shifting beneath your feet, and if you're not prepared for it, then you could get absolutely wrecked. There's some things that don't shift. Like for example, I think like is a completely safe bet. But for everything else, like you just don't know what's going to happen. But either way, my point is that like even then I didn't have a big following. But the moment that I minted the Halo Crans ape, that was it. Like my entire Twitter just exploded. Like it was just a phenomenal. Like it's actually surreal thinking about it. Like my account was less than 1,000 followers, and within like a week or two, it was like 5,000, 6,000, 7,000. Like my ape was a pretty big deal. And like that was just that was something else. I don't know. Like I just don't know. I don't even know how it happened. And ever since then, it just my Twitter has been growing. I think also it has to do with the fact that I make a lot of big NFT purchases, and so that is a lot more relatable than just having a ton of capital. Like for example, you'll see VCs kind of walking around with they have a ton of money and like they're known in the space and like they're making moves and they kind of build up organic followings that way. But even sometimes like not so much. But if you just stick a mythic rare ape as your PFP and you're posting around posting like insight and commentary on the market, like I don't know, you're just gonna get like a huge following fast. So
Yeah, having one of these crazy NFTs is definitely a way to build credibility, I guess, right? Signaling that you are this major investor, right? Because that's kind of what the profile picture you have now, the one that you fractionalized, that I own 4 pieces of because I bought 4 tickets, I think.
let's go.
That ape is so distinct. Like when you see it on the timeline, there's how many apes are there in suits? Like 10 of them?
So no, well, the number of apes that have suits I think is 162, but the number of apes that have a mythic rare trait in a suit is I think it might only even be one. Like there's very few.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so having that is super distinct. So that's obviously another thing I thought about too, but it is kind of it is kind of extensive to spend a lot of money on a lot of NFTs just to kind of use it as like marketing. But yeah, obviously I feel like if you're just in the communities enough, like even just in Discord or if you're active on Twitter and you have like a notable NFT PFP, you'll just build a following naturally. Like even this account, I haven't really like ever tried gaining followers. I just checked. I'm at 369, which is actually kind of more than I thought. I thought I was at like 100 something. But
Yes,
literally just
no.
being active in these like right when I bought this Aurory and I changed this Aurory and I changed my profile picture, I didn't even tag Aurory project or anything, and that ended up getting like 100 likes or something, and I gained a bunch of followers. Same whenever I used to change my profile picture with Degenape. Like these guys are so active, and it's a positive for them to. It's network effects, right? I have this picture. Everybody will want to follow you. You follow the apes, or you follow anybody you follow anyone that also bought into the NFT collection that you bought into. And obviously, if you have a mythic or like a super rare of any collection, all the people will want to follow you.
Yeah, exactly. And so, what is also happening here is that so I ended up making like pretty significant bigger purchase than normal, right? So I make these big purchases, and that also kind of it gets a lot of traction on the post that I end up making, and it just gets a ton of engagement and views. This isn't really intended by me. This is because honestly, I'm not really trying to monetize my Twitter in any way.
Yeah.
There's been opportunities for me to buy into or to have people give me a pre-sale or stuff like that for a project. But typically speaking, I don't ever shill a project unless like I know it's going to be okay. Like, well, not always, obviously. But we're going to talk about something else later. Like, most of the time, 99% of the time, I'm only going to talk about a project that I'm like, you know what? This is pretty good. This is pretty great. And so I don't really sell out. I don't sell out like ever. And so
Which
I think that also,
I think that's a reason you have a decent following too, because it's almost obvious you don't do paid shills and you like don't move with you move with integrity on Twitter. It's kind of obvious to see that. There's a lot of like fly by day accounts that are kind of here for a few months and then we never hear of them again.
yeah.
And there's multiple reasons as to why. But yeah, like I've never really seen you tweet about a 99% of the time, I haven't really seen you tweet about a project or a coin that seemed like shady, I guess.
So in recent history, Memecoin SZN has been like super popular. And so I saw this coin getting a lot of traction called guac. And
Yep.
so I was like, yeah, let's talk about guac. I was like, why the fuck not? I actually didn't own a big position in guac. I was like, you know what? Guac seems like it's doing pretty well. And, part of the narrative that I wanted to capture, which we're still kind of like, I feel like everyone's kind of trying to capture this narrative, but it's just not working at the moment in the Solana community, is that it would be a good idea if we could all just congregate around one meme coin, just one, and kind of send it. But the problem is that no one is really in agreement on which one that should be. But in my opinion, at the time, I was like, maybe it's going to be this dumb coin named guac, because I was seeing it everywhere on the timeline. It was doing really well on Bardy, and I was like, okay, maybe it's this one. And I was like, all right, let's just go for this one. And it was super dumb, like gung ho, but I was like, it's meme coin season. Everyone's being dumb. Everything's pumping. Everything's stupid. Let's not put a lot of thought into this. I'm also gonna just joke around and troll a little bit and be like, and like post Lord of the Rings memes at the same time. Like, I was just like, whatever, man. Like, let's just do it. But aside from that, like that just never happens. Yeah. I see. But actually, it was at that point that I realized that it's like, you know what? We don't even know who the dev is. We don't know who's involved with this project, and there's some pretty egregious allocations here. And I don't know if it really makes sense to support this project when it's like, wait, like, there are accounts here that have like 5% of the supply, 6% of the supply. There's people with like 3%, 2%. Like, is this something I really should be like talking about? And I was like, okay, maybe not. And so, I kind of stopped talking about that one. But
Yeah,
yeah,
guac is something you tweeted about guac, and I think I replied to you, and I said I could just converted all of my Phantom Wallet holdings into guac, which is a factual statement. I actually did do that. I have a few wallets on Phantom, and one of them is kind of like a full degenerate like wallet. So whenever I want to do some crazy shit like that, and then I remember the next day I was up maybe 110%, so more than doubled my money,
I
and
hope you
then.
sold.
Yeah, I looked. Yeah, exactly. And I looked. I think I checked like a day or two later, and then I was down like 75, 80%.
Oh,
So, and now I just checked again. So from principal, I'm down about 50%. But it was
no.
I'm hoping Guac sees a little bit of life, so I can get my principal back. But it wasn't much. It was just whatever was in that whatever Solana I had in that wallet. But
Okay, it
I
was like a
I
small amount.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it
Okay,
wasn't
okay,
anything that's like debilitating. Obviously, like that's
okay.
like that wallet's full for degenerate. That wallet is essentially a gamble. So, whenever I quote unquote gamble, expected value for me is always zero. So the minute I spend the money, it's kind of gone already in my mind. So
Yeah,
whatever I've left, hopefully net positive, is just more than what I would expect. Personally, I think meme season, like meme coin season, is so stupid because I feel like we're in that part. We're still in a bear market, in my opinion. We might have differing thoughts on that, on if market shifts up or shifts down, but I think we're still in a bear market, and I think people are just fucking bored. So here we are with meme coin season. Like it makes
yeah.
no
No,
sense to
no.
buy into anything.
So what happened is yeah, people the market's kind of stagnant at the moment. No one is really sure whether or not it's going to go up or down, and there isn't a whole lot of like volatility. Like everything's been ranging a bit, and the market has been pretty indecisive. So when this happens, typically other assets tend to do well. Like NFTs tend to pump sometimes. Um, but most, yeah, I would actually say in recent history, NFTs pumped during those situations. But recently, there was this coin called Pepe, and Pepe ended up just pumping like in like an insane amount. Pepe got to 1.7 billion. It got to a 1.7 billion-dollar market cap, which is like unheard of in. I mean, well, it's not unheard of, but like that never happens in a bear market. Um,
Yeah.
it's I mean, some people might disagree with me, but like you really do not see a coin from like pretty much zero pumping to 1.7 billion that has no utility. Like it has no utility. It's just the community pumping it up. Like it just doesn't happen, in my opinion. And so a lot of people were kind of looking at that and they're like, well, wait a minute. Okay. So what's the next Pepe going to be? And so at that moment, everyone started creating all these meme coins and stuff like that. And so I was seeing this happening, and I was like, oh, maybe guac can be like the meme coin of Solana, right? And so I was like, yeah, you know what, why not? Let's go for it. But then it became kind of clear to me that it's like, wait a minute, like we don't even know who the dev is. We don't even know who's like responsible, doing all this stuff. We don't know the allocations, like how has this been spread out? And so I was like, you know what, like, I should try doing something else. I should try doing something, or like, or me or a group of guys should just try to do something. um and so that was like a few days, that was like one day after guac, and then I was like, yeah, you know what, if I ever do this, like, you know that
Now's the
I think,
time.
yeah, now's the time. Yeah, and so I was like, I think it would be a good idea to have someone of that was reputable, like trying to do something like this, and also like making it pretty clear, like who the allocation is, like who has it, where it's going to, etc. And so that kind of led into some craziness that ended up happening over the next few days. But,
Yeah, where do we start with that?
yeah, so basically, so without naming the project, or without talking explicitly about what happened, basically there was this group chat with a bunch of lads, and they were like, you know what? One of them was like, yeah, you know what? Like, why don't we just do something? Why don't we just do like a meme coin? And the other guys were like, well, you know what? Like maybe. And then no one was really like sure about getting involved. But at the same time, they're like, well, okay, but what if we do like, what if we do an airdrop for like, a bunch of degen apes? And what if we do like, I don't know. Well, what if we do an airdrop for these guys, and then we can do an airdrop for these guys over here, and then we can just make this a really fun experience for the community on Solana, and we're a group people can trust. We're not going to screw people over, stuff like that. And so they ended up, so this group, okay, they ended up creating this token, um, and so this token ended up uh, it got posted online. People were talking about it. There was a lot of hype and a lot of interest. And what ended up happening was, the token got scheduled to be initialized on the Raydium AMM. And so everyone was kind of waiting to be able to access Raydium so they could access this pool and swap for the token. Historically, these meme coins are created with liquidity pools that have very low liquidity at the start. And so that's how that's how it was done traditionally. So that's what ended up happening. But what no one really expected was for two things to happen, which is the Raydium experienced a bug. So let me double check exactly what ended up happening. It was like, yeah, I have to. Basically, there was this bug that was confirmed by the Raydium devs, where they ended up saying, yeah, let me find the exact. Hold on, let's see here.
Yeah, I think we should also probably expand a little bit on how AMMs work too, because I know me and you talked about it the other day, and
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
I have a
Okay. Hold
pretty
on.
good feeling of what AMMs are versus traditional order books.
Yeah, I'll explain. I'll explain all this right now. But basically, the guy from Raydium ends up. So after the pool gets launched, nobody can see the new pool, and everyone gets really frustrated and mad and angry that they're missing out at the start because it wasn't showing up on Raydium. But then the guys from Raydium, like 4 or 5 hours later, fixed the problem, which is like it was super infuriating. But what they ended up saying was that Raydium. So in order to access the pool, you had to go on Raydium V1, which is what a lot of people didn't understand. But everyone was on Raydium V2. And so this is quote, V2 uses address lookup tables called alts for new pools, which are created after the pool is initialized. There was an issue creating alts that kept pools from being shown. V1 doesn't use alts, basically meaning that you could see it on V1, but not on V2. And then the issue was fixed like 3 or 4 hours later. But the problem is that the issue was there to begin with, and everyone got frustrated and thought the person who launched this token, okay, the individual involved, all right, everyone kind of knows who it is. I'm just talking about the project that it is, all right. We're trying to, just talk about the situation that occurred. And if you know, all right, there it is. So what ends up happening is it didn't change anything. And so everyone thought that the person who launched the token had no idea what they were doing. But the problem is that there was an actual Raydium bug. And so that person ends up getting thrown under the bus, and everyone's like, "You don't know what you're doing. You're stupid." Blah blah blah. And it was a complete shit show fiesta. But the problem here too that everyone realized is that a bunch of bots ended up buying into the pool before everyone else could, and they can do this by accessing the Solana command line and just using the call function with the contract. And basically, that's a lot of mumbo jumbo for basically saying they didn't have to use the Raydium UI in order to access the pool. So a bunch of bots ended up buying in before everyone else, and actually, a bunch of bots ended up dumping on other bots. And so it was a wild fiesta, and it just the price was super high at the start. And then anyone that actually managed to figure out how to buy this token, aside from the bots, ended up buying really high after the bots had already purchased and they got dumped on. And so I was still trying to figure out what the heck was going on. Like me and a bunch of other people were like, okay, well, like, why can't we see this on V1? And so the person who launched the token was like, wait a minute, like, what the F is going on? Why can't we see this? Why can't we see, the V1? Why can't we see the pool on V2? And then that's when it kind of clicked for them, and they were like, oh God. So there's a Raydium bug. It needs to be fixed. And the launch got totally ruined. It wasn't a fair launch because there were certain people who figured out that they could buy on V1, but like 80-90% of the population that was interested in this token couldn't figure it out, and so they didn't have a fair chance of getting the token. And so at that point, it was clear like the token wasn't a fair launch, and the bots had just gobbled up like the entire supply. And so at that point, that was when the person was like, "Well, the launch is a bust, and we have to close shop because we can't. There's no way to do this fairly at this point." And also, actively continuing to endorse this token when the bots have purchased everything is like leading sheep into a slaughter, right? Like lambs to the slaughter. It's like they're gonna get dumped on by these bots. And so so that person decided, you know what, we're just gonna close the pool because if we don't do this and people keep on buying this token, more people are going to get involved and more people could get hurt. And so it's like, okay, we got to stop this. And so it was stopped, and they closed the pool. And then the thing is that the person who closed the pool only, in theory, got a 39 SOL profit, but they've already said that they're going to distribute the SOL back from the LP to the victims, or not victims, but the people who still had tokens that had it sold at the time. So basically, there are some people who got royally screwed, who bought in after the bots and got dumped on. But that's kind of like part of the game. If you're kind of taking these chances, jumping into a meme coin, these meme coins have low liquidity, but also it's extremely high risk, and you don't really know what's going to happen when you ape in. And so the person who launched this token did tell people in advance, hey, this is an experiment, act responsibly, do all this stuff. I mean, they were trying to hype it up, but also at the same time they're like, but don't ape in, like don't be a complete doofus. But the problem is people decided to just ape in anyway, and so some people ended up getting like smashed. I think one of the bots made like $10,000, $20,000 off of one sale, and like it was just this is it wasn't really PvP, it was just a slaughter. So
yeah, I think that sale was 16K, right?
yeah,
Something.
there were some pretty big sales, but interestingly, there's this bot that has the name Nassim.Sol that ended up losing like 5,000, like, or I don't know exactly. I know they lost $2,000. But I heard that bot got wrecked pretty hard. There were other bots that like they immediately bought in, but those bots are malicious. They'll just dump right on top of each other the moment that another bot buys in right after. That's the problem, is that some of these bots are better programmed than each other, and they're much more capable at bidding on fee markets to make sure that their buy goes in first and their sale goes in first before another sale goes in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and these bots are pretty expensive too. Like for the average person might not really know what we're referring to, but these bots that you can buy, I think the average price is around $3,000, and I'm sure there's some that are even more, like more expensive because they operate better. But I think 3K is like the going price for like a decent bot right now.
So I don't know anything about how much you have to pay for a bot, but all I know is that there are some really sick operators on Solana and Ethereum that they know how to make a serious amount of money really quickly and in a short amount of time. There's a notorious bot on Ethereum called Jared from Subway.eth. So pretty funny name. And it's a Mev bot, and that bot just makes an absolute killing every single time someone tries to perform a Uniswap trade. I think there's only been like one time where the bot got screwed, but outside of that, like these bots just make an absolute monster of a payday every day. Even though that Nassim bot got wrecked on the token we were talking about, they still had made $15,000 on the day on a different coin. So
Yeah.
like that kind of just goes to show you like the kind of craziness that goes on with these meme coins. But it kind of showed the person who launched the token. It showed them that these meme coins are all botted, right? These meme coins are all entirely botted. They're all the bots dominate everything. Basically, they have most of the supply. They've made most of the money, and they're pretty much operating at a profit at all times while they're in those pools. Almost always, except if they get demolished by a different bot, and then that's just a wrap. But it's a pretty dangerous game, and at that point, at that moment, that's when the person was like, "Okay, we're done here. Like, this is not going to work. This is not good." So,
Do you know how many unique holders there were at the peak, maybe?
no. So I know there was like 100 or so, but that was like like at the very start there weren't that many, but like 100 people in, there was like it was probably after the pool had been closed. It was like 100, but it's tough to say too because If people who had purchased during the initial 30-minute, 40-minute period sold into the pool, then they wouldn't be holders, right? Because they wouldn't be holding anything. So, but it looked like it was probably like only 100. I think that's probably safe to say, but maybe not. But I do know there was like over 1,000 transactions. So it
What do you
was pretty.
think? Do you think there was any way to prevent this from happening, or like maybe there wasn't a way to prevent it from happening this time? But do you think going into the future there could be something set up? Because Solana is
So
so cheap
yeah,
to operate, right? So that's why it incentivizes people to bot with very little cost, right? Because if you're paying per transaction, you're not really paying that. You're not paying shit on Solana. So
yeah,
like going into the future, I wonder what would be some things that maybe devs could do to like
yeah.
kind of prevent this
So
from happening.
So what I think could have happened was, for example, well, firstly, this was a highly desirable mint, so or not mint, sorry, a highly desirable, meme coin launch because the person who was involved had a lot of credibility, and so most of the time you see these non-devs launching it because they don't want to take the backlash from accidentally screwing something up, and so lo and behold, when someone with credibility does it and something goes wrong, then they get thrown under the bus and they get bashed, and then who knows what could end up happening next. Maybe they get reported or something. But what ended up happening, in this case, is that the person who launched the coin didn't really realize like what kind of traction and interest and volume they were going to get when they launched it. There was a ton of engagement, a ton of interest, focused on this meme coin launch. Like everyone was kind of getting frustrated with all the other meme coins that had launched and kind of rugged. And so they were like, this is an opportunity to get in early on something potentially very big. And so that's why, even though the person said, hey, please be careful, please be safe, they didn't realize that people were just going to totally act exorbitantly, and just, go way, not act responsibly, even though it was a meme coin launch. And so some of those people just got absolutely smashed. But
Yeah.
it's tough to say, it's tough to prove. But yeah, no, it does make sense that there are people who bought in after the bots, and then the bots just kind of dumped on them. And that they're bots because normal users won't be able to see the pool show up in AMMs before the bots can access the token contract to swap by using the call function. So like you'll see in like the very first seconds of the launch, like there was already like 5 or 6 addresses that had accessed the pool. And so for a fact that those are the bots. Like no normal user could access it at that time period. And there's other things too if you check the transactions, but
Do you think
that's
of
what ended up happening.
do you think if the people who launched the coin, if they didn't make the contract or the contract public or the name of the coin public before launching it, do you think that could have prevented it in any way, even slightly?
Yeah, so I think that okay, you know what the problem is that the person who launched the coin, when they saw, okay, so when they created the coin, someone DM'd them on Twitter with the coin address like 2 minutes later before it was even revealed. So there are people who are constantly looking on chain to get an edge for these meme coin launches. And so while you don't want to, you don't want to reveal it in advance, but these bots are like programmed to pretty much identify SPLs like as soon as they're created and kind of keep an eye out on them, especially when a token pool AMM has been initialized on chain. Because then at that point, if it has liquidity, um, then the bots will take the risk of buying it really early on. And then if someone tries to do anything with the pool after, they're probably, depending on what the action is, they might just immediately sell back into the pool. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of tough to say. I mean, honestly, I would say no. I would say that very likely there's nothing that they could have done except if they had been a bit more slower with the launch and not launched it in a traditional meme coin way, which is providing a pool with really low liquidity like Pepe. Like Pepe, if you had put in $25 extremely early on into the life cycle of that token, you could have made $1 million, right? Like that's the kind of low liquidity we're talking about here, where you could have put in absolutely nothing and you would have made millions. But, in this particular case, if I had, provided 60,000, or if someone had provided 60,000 USD in the pool, at the start, then basically you couldn't just put in $25 to kind of make that dream come true, right? The gambler's itch just isn't quite there, and so the question really is, it's like, is that ever going to happen again with Pepe? I don't think so, or at least for as long as Memecoin season lasts, there's always going to be operators that are going to try to get in early for these meme coin launches as long as it's in season. Because the moment that it's not in season, then no one's going to care and they're going to just ignore it. But that's the current meta, right? So the bots have been programmed to, assess each and every SPL that's created and the pools that have been created. Does that kind of make sense? Like there's no way to get in early anymore with these bots. So
yeah. So if someone was, so I guess theoretically, if someone was to launch a meme coin, what would they have to do to make sure, or maybe not meme coin, let's say any coin, right? What would they have to do to make sure that the coin doesn't just have like malicious users to start off with? Like what, like
yeah, so
in
I was I
in a
was
perfect world, right? What is the checklist of things that one has to do to drop a coin and have it be successful? So have it be like the opposite of what happened here.
Okay, so for a meme coin, I think it would be a good idea to kind of give out a ton of coins to, like, okay, I would say probably you would have a claim contract where you get a ton of whitelists for wallets that belong to human users, and kind of give them tokens, and try to get an organic community started from the very beginning, and try to give out the supply to a degree, uh, but also it's like the other thing you could do is you could open up the liquidity pool, but you just have a lot more liquidity. So, for example, you could open up a liquidity pool with like $60,000 paired with the supply of the token, and these bots, I don't they might adapt down the road to buy more, but these bots were only like tossing in like $1,000, $2,000 into these pools. They weren't like and that's not going to affect a pool of $60,000 very much, right? So these AMMs, which stands for automated market maker pools, basically the moment you buy into a pool, the price of the pool is going to go up, and the AMM adjusts it accordingly after a purchase. But if there's low liquidity and a $1,000 purchase is made on one of these pools, it's going to skyrocket. But if there's a pool with $60,000 in it, then $1,000 isn't going to move the needle very much, right? And so that's an opportunity, I would say, to that's one of the ways you could probably do it, is just have a lot more liquidity, and also I think probably allowing for claim contracts. But the thing with claim contracts is that if you give out a ton of tokens to users early on, then that kind of puts the person in jeopardy who is setting up the liquidity pool, right? Because the person who sets up the liquidity pool has to front their own capital in order to, make the pool efficient. And so if you do all these claim contracts and allow people to get tokens early, then it allows everyone to kind of to just dump on people, dump on the LP. And so you don't really want that to happen either. You want people to be excited and to buy in and to make the price go up so that you as the LP are protected, right? So I don't know, but ultimately, I'd probably say the only real way to do it is just to add more liquidity. But for a lot of these meme coins, they're supposed to have low liquidity and they're supposed to be very new. Really, I would say in this particular case, it was just ruined by the fact that Raydium had this bug. Like, because otherwise it would have been a fair launch, right? Everyone could have seen it. There would have been no problem. Everyone could access it from V2. And I think the person who ended up launching it just got totally screwed, and then everyone threw them under the bus and said, "Oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's such an idiot." Blah blah blah. But in reality, it was just it wasn't a fair launch because Raydium had this dome bug, and he was the first one to experience it. And then Raydium was like, "Oh, okay, well, we'll fix it now." Like 3 hours later, but there's nothing else we can do. And so that person's reputation takes a big hit. And
Yeah,
so
I can see both sides, right? So obviously,
yeah,
it does suck that let's say you're just somebody on Twitter, and then you see this notable high integrity individual tweeting about a project, a coin,
yeah,
and then you dump money into the coin, right? And then obviously what happened, so you end up losing your money. So I can see why somebody would be like upset about that. But on the other hand, you are buying a meme coin, and it was made obvious like, hey, be safe about this. So anybody that lost too much money that they couldn't afford just didn't have proper risk management in the first place. It doesn't
yeah.
matter who's creating the coin, like anything can go wrong, right? Like it would be kind of like think about Solana, right? Obviously Solana we view as a great coin. But if you think about it from a risk management standpoint, it would be kind of silly to be 100% in Solana and not diversify with like Bitcoin or ETH or something, right? For example, obviously not financial advice. So even that, even like this coin that everybody believes in, even that's bad risk management. So aping into a meme coin that is created by somebody that you follow on Twitter who doesn't have experience in creating these coins, right? Or creating coins is just
I would say
bad risk management.
so. I would say the person that created this did have experience. They've used Raydium before. They've set up pools before. They've even set up a Dex lab with well, I'm not going to name specific projects, but certainly projects that you're familiar with for sure.
Yeah.
And so this person did know what they were doing. It's just that they didn't expect that this Raydium bug was going to happen and would it basically ruin the fair launch of the token.
If this
Yeah.
if this person did a mock launch, do you think that could have helped prevent what happened? Or do you think like
Like
this radium bug is just like a not a singularity, but just like literally bad RNG?
like on a DevNet or so
No,
so
even
like
like
it,
a
oh
even like a live launch that you just
so
don't tell anybody about.
yeah so there's an argument to be made that the person who launched it could have tried a test launch with a different coin on Radium in the same exact fashion. Um, and that would have been fine. But this person had used the Radium infrastructure before and had set up a pool before. So it was something that was completely unexpected. It's sort of like, okay, how do I put this? You've used a project or product multiple times, and then you're just like, okay, well, I already know how this is going to work. I've already, they've already set it up, or right, like, okay, it's like, what's a good analogy for this? It's like using a toilet, right? You sit down, okay, not to get too dirty, but you sit down on a toilet, you do your business, and then what do? You flush, right? But what if the toilet just explodes on you, right? Like, okay, you're not going to do a test flush before you do your, does that kind of make sense? Like, you're so used to it, it's so organic, like, it's just like, what's the need for it? Like this. So it turned out that the Radium infrastructure was broken, despite the fact that it wasn't previously broken before. This was a really weird situation where somehow it wasn't fixed up until this situation happened, and then 3 hours later it was fixed, right? So the question is, when was this an issue in the first place? And the person doesn't know. So the person's like, you know, they have no idea what really happened, except that apparently Radium had this bug, and Radium said they're sorry, and they fixed it, and they're sorry that the launch got ruined. But it's just otherwise, it's like, why wasn't this fixed sooner by Radium? No one really knows.
Yeah,
So
Did Radium publicly come out and say that it was a bug on their end?
yeah, so the head of product and the let's see here, what's his name? So it's this guy named Ox Infra. He said it was Infra from Radium. He's the head of partnerships with Radium Protocol. DMs are open. You can follow him on Twitter. It's Infra. Then there's like a space, and then it says Radium. That's his name. and he came out and said, "Yep, this is what happened, and we're totally sorry about it, but it just that it is what it is." And then, interestingly, a couple devs were like wondering, like, why was this even a thing? Why did this happen? And it is what it is. But basically, the person who launched the token got screwed, got thrown under the bus, and everyone was mad at them, saying they didn't really know what they were doing. But in fact, they did know what they were doing. It's just that they got screwed over by this Raydium bug, and so it's like, whatever, like what were they supposed to do? I don't know. So
Yeah, a lot of it's definitely bad luck. It sucks
yeah.
that a lot of people are making fun of the person that was behind it, making like what's a good word for it? I don't want to say arrogant, but
Well, the person was pretty excited about doing their own meme coin and doing it correctly, and I think
yeah,
they
yeah,
had so they were saying like, okay, we're going to do this the right way, and we're not going to have these anon devs with these weird allocations, and it was definitely a humbling experience, but also like it's not super humbling at the same time because it's like there's no way they could have foreseen this bug happening and them getting absolutely wrecked, reputation wise by this bug. So like, I mean, I wouldn't even say their reputation is wrecked. It's just like this was an actual bug that happened. So it's like, what is he supposed to do? I don't know. So it kind of sucks, but the person's just like, whatever, I'll just deal with it. And they kind of tried to explain it on Twitter, and so, but that doesn't change the fact that some people got pretty annoyed, some people lost money, and got wrecked by the bots. So
yeah.
there's only
I think the person's reputation would be destroyed if they came out and said that this coin was going to provide real utility and it wasn't a meme
no,
coin. Like everybody
yeah,
knows, like they openly said it's a
yeah,
meme coin and it just went wrong. So I don't think that's worth somebody's reputation being ruined. But if it was, and two, the person who created the coin didn't profit anything, right? And even if they did profit maybe a little bit, they're willing to give it back to anybody that really got screwed over in the
yeah.
whole process.
So the person, yeah, well, okay, and there's another thing too is that there wasn't just one person involved in this process, but I'm not going to say anything more than that. Um, but yeah, I mean, the original allocation that the team or the group of individuals involved got, they didn't sell anything. So basically, the person that launched it, who was kind of spearheading this situation, they're the only, they're pretty much the only person who got wrecked on like the team side. They didn't make any money, and they kind of got owned by the Raydium bug. And so it is what it is, and so that shit happens, and it's like life goes on. Um, but yeah, the thing is that person made pretty clear that this is an experiment. Act responsibly. He said it multiple times. Um, he said, don't, put in a ton of money. Um,
Yeah,
what else? Yeah,
this is definitely different than
yeah.
somebody like purposefully and intentionally
You,
like
you know
doing a
what?
bug pull.
Yeah, you know what I think it is. It's like when someone tells you just be careful, don't do it. It only legitimizes like the ingenuity, right? It only legitimizes like this guy isn't actually trying to rug me. I'm going to ape in more,
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I
like
agree.
not to laugh at this situation, but it's like okay, if he tells them that he's not, if he tells them to stay safe, then they're still going to ape in anyway. And it's not funny in the sense that people lost money. It's just funny that it's like, what is he supposed to do? Okay, is he supposed to say, "I'm going to rug you"? So right? It just
And
doesn't make any sense.
even if you do that, right? Because
Yeah,
there is I think it's an SPL called Poor, right? I'm sure that's an
yeah,
SPL, and their whole thing
yes,
is, you
yes.
buy this and you'll stay poor, and people are still buying it. So it's like there's not really much you can do to
Yeah,
prevent people from aping in with bad risk management. I do
yeah,
have one question. So Bored Ape Yacht Club dropped their own token, right? Their own ERC20 called ApeCoin. How
yeah.
did they drop their coin or their token? I mean, and have it like a successful launch? Did they just have like high liquidity when they launched the coin?
Well, so they allowed all NFT holders to claim the token in a token contract. Um, Basically, holders of BC, Macy, and Bored Ape Kennel Club, I believe it's called. Uh, also, yeah, all of them were able to claim tokens, and a pretty sizable amount of tokens went to them. I do believe also that the Bored Ape Yacht Club team performed a raise, and so they sold tokens that way as well. I'm not 100% certain, but the thing is that and it was immediately launched on Coinbase and Binance and all these other big exchanges. The thing is that Bored Ape Yacht Club is still the biggest NFT brand in the world right now. And so when you have something that big and that that many interested parties involved, then absolutely what's going to happen is it's going to have a ton of liquidity. There's going to be market makers that have been provided tokens that are going to trade these assets. And yeah, I mean that's what ended up happening. But just to be clear, ApeCoin isn't like a shit coin, right? It's like actually being peddled by a team that intends to provide a utility as opposed to a meme coin, which just has absolutely fuck all going for it, basically.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a way. I'm sure this isn't an original idea. I
Yeah.
wonder if there's a way to create a coin or an NFT collection that has a vest period. So like you buy in and you can't sell it for like one
Oh
month,
yeah.
2 months, or 3 months. Are there any projects right now that are like that?
Well, I mean, that's just extremely common to basically. Um,
Is it though? I can't name any NFT collections that have a vesting period, or any coins actually that have a vesting period.
no, yeah, I mean, Aury has a vesting period, for example.
Ori
So,
token?
yeah, the Aury token. So there are VCs that bought in early for Aury, and I mean that might be contributing to the current price action of Aury. I mean, it was dumping quite a bit, but yeah, they have one more year vested for basically getting token distribution. This
Is that only for VCs though, or is that for like regular people?
That's for VCs. That's for an assortment of individuals. So
Yeah,
this
see
is this is
that's kind of different though. I mean like a blockchain launch where there's no VCs, I guess, and it's just regular users that when they buy
okay.
into this,
So
it gets vested.
well, no,
Yeah.
no. So there's pre-sale allocations all the time for normal users. Like, I mean, well, it depends on what you define a normal user, but okay, not to an example would be the Boogles. Okay, so I hate talking about the Boogles because it serves as an inadvertent shill, but at the same time, they're very good at getting pre-sales, and so they get pre-sales. They get vested periods or vesting periods for NFTs, and they also know how to get vesting periods for sometimes coins. You know, maybe like Bonk, for example, they got a vesting period for that. Uh, the Bonk team has a vesting period as well for the Bonk token. So this is really standard normal stuff. It's just that I would say on the regular, you don't see it super often unless it's like a pretty professional team. But every so often, you will see it regardless. But yeah.
Outside of pre-sales though, is there any collection or coin doing that outside of pre-sales?
Well, if it's not a pre-sale and if it's not like, I mean, typically you're just probably staking a token and then you're just receiving a distribution every day. I mean,
Yeah,
I guess
that's
that
also different too though. Like I'm talking about like let's say right now I randomly drop an NFT collection that has a mint, right? So people mint into this and then they get the NFT. But then like the NFT is still in their wallet, but they're not allowed to move the NFT or list it on an exchange for a certain vesting period. That's what I mean, like purely out of
yeah,
pre-sale.
that happens all the time. That happened with Mad Lads. So people minted these these rug NFTs that they couldn't move, they couldn't sell it, they couldn't do anything with it until the dev said that they could. So you can do that. It is possible. So
I didn't know Mad Lads did that. That's
yeah,
crazy.
that's what they did.
So didn't when did Mad Lads mint? Sorry, when did Mad Lads mint? Like 2 weeks,
That
three
was
weeks ago?
yeah, it was like 2 or 3 weeks ago, basically.
And so okay. Okay. So why was their marketplace open right after if there was some sort of vesting period?
So, I mean, there's a marketplace. Well, okay, it's not a true vesting period. It's just that basically the devs froze the tokens immediately after they were minted, and so basically the devs said, okay, well, we're not going to let you have them, and we're not going to let you do anything with them until we're ready to let you do something with them. But another example of a vesting period was Kalanosaurs, where these people bought in pre-sale. And I know you said don't mention pre-sale, but I mean that's really how vesting periods work. Is these people buy in early and they're vested, meaning that they have an investment in the project, but they don't have full access to it, and they only receive access to it over time. Um, for their investment so that they don't just dump everything right at the start. I mean, that's pretty much, how what a vesting period is for. And so with Clanosaurs, there were people who bought in who got like 10 Clanos, and they weren't allowed to sell them for like a month or something like that. Month, 2 months, 3 months, etc. So this is a thing on NFTs. This is a thing on SPLs. It can be done on Solana and Ethereum. So
Okay, cool. Yeah, I was kind of unfamiliar with that. I mean, to me, that sounds like a great idea for NFT collections. I don't think it can really work. I mean, maybe in theory it could work with coins and tokens, but I think that's more suited for purchasing NFTs. I we've been talking about meme coins for quite a while. I do want to end off with one thing about meme coins. One, I have so many followers or mutuals that make so much fucking money off meme coins, and I'm just upset that none of you guys ever DM me and give me random shills. Like I think Function tweeted, or Function, also known as Shill Nye, tweeted that he turned like $35 into like 5K in like one day off
oh,
guac, and it's like, dude, where are the fucking calls? What NFT collection do I have to buy into? Which Discord do I have to join for these level of meme coin calls? Just a
so
little
you have
rant.
Well, the problem is that it's like if you talk about something on your Twitter and it goes down, some people might get mad at you, and if it goes up, some people will be happy, but they probably won't act on your advice or your shill anyway. So it's like it's sort of like it's a risky situation where he probably just didn't even feel like tweeting it out, or who knows, maybe he just I don't know. I don't know all the details, but in general, what I've learned from this whole situation, and I think everyone else has learned, is that uh, the only people really making money from these meme coins at the moment are bots or the team itself, because the bots are going to get in before everyone else, and the team already has an allocation. So basically, what that means is the team can dump on the LP if they want to. Um, but aside from that, there's nothing more that can be done, and the bots are just going to dominate. So either way, I would say it would behoove everyone to just kind of avoid meme coins. That
Yeah.
people can try to buy into it and make it happen. It would be nice if Solana just had one gigantic meme coin pump, and like just one of them
Do you
was
think
like,
Samo is dead?
yeah, that's something to talk about, as well as Bonk, right? So Bonk kind of exploded, and Samo also exploded in value at one point, and then it just kind of died. Doge recently didn't really do a whole lot, while Pepe just skyrocketed. You know what I mean? It's like, what's going to happen to these other meme coins that have been created in the past that aren't really doing anything right now? And my answer to that is, I don't even know. That's a good question. But I will say that Doge has been around for a long time, and eventually Doge is going to have its day, and it's going to pump like crazy, probably. Who knows, like years from now. But it's definitely missing out on, and people want to get in early, right? That's the dream. When you buy in on Pepe with like $50, there's a chance that 50 turns into like a bajillion, right? Because and you don't really know if it's going to happen or not. But if it does, then it's great. But if it doesn't, then it's like, well, you just lost $50, and that's kind of like that's kind of just the nature of the beast, right? With these meme coins, you just don't know what's going to happen when you buy, and if you do try to go for it, sometimes you just get wrecked, and it sucks because you don't want to see people lose money, but at the same time, it's like it is kind of like a zero sum game when there isn't real utility involved with these purchases, and with the coin itself, there isn't like true value there. It's just
Yeah.
community and people just like trying to pump it up. So
I think people forget that markets are player versus player. Like if I sell, somebody else buys, right? So it's literally not us versus like one entity. It's everybody versus everybody. That's how markets work. If you make a sale, if you make a good sale, somebody is making a worse sale than you, or a worse transaction than you are. I think Samo was the coin that I was super bullish on until the whole FTX collapse. I think one of the narratives for Samo was that FTX was going to use it in a commercial. I think before the Super Bowl, everybody was like, "Oh my God, it's going to be in the Super Bowl commercial," and that didn't happen. And obviously, unless FTX somehow makes a crazy comeback, which I don't think they will, obviously Samo's not going to be in any commercials. So I think the case for Samo is, I don't want to say it's dead because I guess it is ultimately on the community, but it's definitely not. The narrative isn't the same as what it was before. The thing with Bonk was created by people that were involved with creating Solana, right? Like the developers or something.
I don't even know what's going to happen with Bonk, to be honest. Like the team members involved, a lot of them took profit, and it's like, are they as interested anymore? Who knows? It's
Yeah,
tough to say. But
it's hard to say what. I usually stray away from meme coins too, but there's always so much value in them. I want to preface this by saying not financial advice because
yeah,
I'm always kind of paranoid about that. But I feel like there's so many quality coins on the Solana network that you can buy instead of meme coins. Like if I was, in theory, if I had an Excel sheet with Solana coins and their all-time highs, I would. Raydium seems like such a good purchase. Raydium.
uh,
Why do you say no?
okay, you're talking about the Radium native token.
Correct. Yeah.
Dude, well, wait. In the context of just being an SPL on Solana, that you think is going to go up,
Yeah,
I,
I think
I
the
got,
value would appreciate. Yeah, I think if I purchased Radium token, I feel like it would
well,
be a
so
good investment.
so I don't know. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly look offhand uh, the token on CoinGecko. I will
Yeah.
say this. Oh, geez, man, is that? Did I read this correctly? Does it say 20 cents?
Yep.
Hold on a
And then
second.
look at the all-time high.
Okay, so
The
yeah,
all-time high is definitely inaccurate. I think it's sold for $16 on some exchange once or something, and that's why it's registered that way. But I think the real all-time high is closer to like 350, like $3.50, if I remember correctly. But even at 20 cent, like 20 cents to 350, and Radium is what, the number one DEX on Solana?
what's interesting is that um, the day that they that guy tried to perform the launch, and yeah, the token dumped from 23 cents down to 19 cents. So it looks to me like someone was like, screw this, screw this token protocol, dude. Like, I don't know. I'll say this: the fully diluted value of this token is already 100 million. And even if it were to do a 10x and put it at a $1 billion market cap, that would put it at around $2, right? So I think the upside for this token is not very high, and I think a lot of people are kind of risk averse towards this platform at this point, not simply because there's just so many bugs with it, And so I don't know if this is something you really want to buy or not. And also, there's other aggregators that people prefer over Radium, which would include Jupiter Aggregator and like Dex Labs and some other stuff, some other AMMs. This one in particular uh, has just kind of been like down only, and it also, yeah. How do I? This is one of the low float, high FDV token plays that came out during the SAM era of Solana. And oh, look at this! Apparently, Radium was recently exploited for $2 million. What the heck? Oh, okay. So it was exploited back in 2022 December.
But the thing is, like, so since this could sound very naive and
Yeah.
very oversimplified, right? So
Uh-huh.
usually, traditionally, when a coin goes crazy, like let's say Solana, usually coins that were launched on, or tokens that were launched on the blockchain appreciate at a higher rate than the overlying asset. So like if Solana 10x's, like in my mind, Radium should like 15x or 20x at least. But
Um,
obviously that's not like that's like a super oversimplification and like a quick way to kind of think about it.
yeah, I would be extremely careful of buying this token. There, like I said, there's 550 million in supply, and it's not the utility of this token is not very clear or obvious. And the team is not really doing a whole lot with this project. Really, there hasn't been a whole lot going on, and there's so many bugs, and it was only until after that recent launch that they fixed it 3 hours later. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like that should have been fixed a long time ago. And how was it even a bug even from the start? How come nobody noticed until then? Who knows? But I don't know. It's tough to say. I know right from the right when they launched, it was a pretty big deal for Solana. I just don't know if they're really going to if it's ever going to get that high again. Now, no offense to anyone that's like really bullish on Raydium. I honestly do not believe this will ever get back to $16.
I view Radium's even like to this day. I view Radium as like the Uniswap of Solana. Even though there's I know Step Finance. I think it's Step.finance. That platform is amazing to me because it shows you your whole portfolio, including every NFT. So like it multiplies the floor price of each NFT plus all the coins in your wallet. So it shows you your wallet's like portfolio value, and on there you can swap. And they probably might even use Radium. I don't know which aggregator they use, but I feel like an all-inclusive platform like that will probably take over. But still, like Radium still kind of looks like the Uniswap of Solana to me because it was the first one.
um,
Going into the future, that obviously can change, and it probably will change. Obviously, if they have like continual bugs and things of that nature. But Radium was just like a quick example of something that I'd probably rather invest in than a meme coin. There's other coins as well, like Aury token maybe is one example that we could use because Aurory is actually building something pretty dope. I don't know if they'll go back to their all time high of
oh,
what like
you dude, you
22.
want to do you want to talk about the Aurory thesis really quick? I love
I'm
talking about this.
I'm so
Okay,
down.
okay.
Let's do
All
it.
right. So Aury is like one of the tokens that I'm the most bullish on in the Solana ecosystem. Now, I don't own a ton at the moment. I could if I wanted to, but it kind of looks like VCs are unloading. And so I've just been kind of risk averse, along with many others, of buying the token. But okay, so the basically the thesis that me and a lot of other people have is that we look at the success of Axie Infinity and we say, okay, Axie Infinity did really well. So if Axie Infinity did really well, what is the likelihood of Aurory doing well in a GameFi narrative bull market, right? Because a lot of people think that's what's going to end up happening is a lot of games are going to launch, and the games that are AAA and that are made really well with high quality, those are the ones that are going to end up getting like excessively large market caps and performing quite admirably. um and so the reason why all of this matters is because Axie Infinity ended up getting to an insane market cap. Let me double check the exact amount just to be certain. I'm pretty sure though Axie Infinity got to a fully diluted evaluation of around, I want to say $50 billion, which sounds pretty, yeah. So basically what that means, yeah, let me double check.
50 bill would be 25, maybe even closer to 30 times the ATH of Pepe, which is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, no. So I mean, it was either 40 or $50 billion. I have to double check. It's kind of tough to say because actually no, we can double check. Okay, yeah. There is a way to do this. Okay, I'll tell you. I'll tell you right now. So hold on. So we'll take this. So the max supply of the native Axie token is 270 million. And then we just have to look up the hold on. We have to look up the all-time high for Axie Infinity. And so I'm looking it up right now just to make sure I get the exact number just for fun. So basically, yeah, we're going to look this up. Okay. We're all right. Here's the all-time high. The all-time high looks to be around $171. So you take $171.85 and you're going to multiply that by 270 million. And so the answer is, yeah, it got to $46.4 billion. Yeah, $46.4 billion market cap. And so that's just its FDV, by the way. Okay. The actual market cap was somewhere around 10 or 12 billion at its all-time high. But when you look at Aurory and you say, okay, well, what if Aurory does that, right? So if we all think that Aurory is going to be the next Axie Infinity, and this is, maybe it's possible, maybe it's within the realm of reality. With each and every crypto market bull run that occurs, more and more people end up adopting it and using, the token. There's only 100 million Aury in circulation. So all you have to do is divide the fully diluted market cap of Axie Infinity by, the amount of Aury tokens that could be in circulation. And the answer is Aury. If Aury got to the exact same FDV that Axie Infinity got to in its all-time high, that would put Aury at a price of $463. Which
Jeez.
is like, well, that's like almost a 1000x from here, right? And it's
Is that
like
more? It's 2000x from here if it's at under 25 cents.
Well, so Aury is currently at 51 cents, but if Aury did get to 25 cents, then yeah, that would be like a 2000x. And so,
so in theory, if somebody invested $500 here, and what you mentioned did occur, they would turn $500 into $1 million, or is it 100K? 100K.
So if they invested, you said $500. $500 would be 1,000. It would be 1,000 Aury, and so you would take 1,000 Aury times 463, and that would be $463,000. So it's like, is that actually going to happen though? Because there is an argument to be made that all of the GameFi liquidity and interest was predominantly focused in Axie Infinity. But at the same time, Aury has a AAA game studio and they have a lot of money. So there's pretty good odds that Aury ends up doing extremely well. I don't know if it's going to reach that level of craziness, but to put, like, let's say hypothetically though, let's just say hypothetically that Aury only got to 10% of Axie's FDV, because that would be like kind of realistic, right? It's like,
yeah,
I mean, that seems much more likely within the realm of possibility. In that situation, you're still turning $500 though into $46,000. I think that's a much more reasonable like outcome, where the FDV reaches 4.6 billion and not necessarily
what time frame are you thinking? Time frame wise, are you thinking this could occur like next bull run, or is this something maybe like 2 bull runs from now?
No, I'm thinking like they're probably gonna have a finished nice product within 2 years for sure. So I'm thinking if there is another bull run, a crazy bull run, then within 2.5 years, I would say. And so this is kind of alpha that I've been like keeping to myself, but everyone also kind of knows that this is a possibility. But it's like, but the thing is, Aury's the only token on Solana, the only GameFi token. There's a few others, but like that really has the strong AAA team with a ton of money backing it. And they're creating their own assets and they're creating their own stuff. All these other teams have been borrowing assets from what's it called? Unreal Engine 4 and trying to basically everything looks like there's a lot of things that look kind of like Fortnite or like Metal Gear Solid 5, which you might have noticed. It's like some of the gameplay looks eerily similar across a lot of these games, while Aurory has its own original assets being created from the ground up. Whether or not that's going to pay off, it's tough to say, because a lot of people just don't really think about that kind of stuff when they're playing a video game. They just want to enjoy it and have fun. But I do think that Aurory has all the capacity and capability to reach that pretty much insane threshold that Axie got to. And so that's why, like, when I got to 100 Aurorians, I was like, I can't fucking believe this market let me get 100 Aurorians, because the Aurorians are going to profit immensely over time.
Do you think the ROI is better on an Aurorian or Aury token?
Well, right now, yeah. So to be honest, I think that the Aurorians are going to pay for themselves in Aury value over time, just from all the airdrops. So you get a lot of exclusive skins, you get a lot of exclusive drops, you get a lot of exclusive opportunities. There's going to be land sales. You're going to be able to get land. You're going to be able to sell. You're going to be able to have a ton of passive income just by having these Aurorians. And so the Aurorians are going to pay for themselves in Aury value. And the thing too, you have to remember is that there's only 10,000 Aurorians. And so what that basically means is that there's a very limited amount of people that are going to have exclusive access to this game world with all the exclusive perks that the Aurorians have. And I've already taken 1% off the table and said, you can't have this. And there's 8 other people that have around 100 that have said, you're not going to be able to have this. So there's a very limited number of people that are going to have these. In my opinion, if Aury ever goes to that, crazy level that Axie Infinity got to, like, let's say Aury only goes to like $50, right? That's its all-time high, or it breaks the $21 all-time high and it gets to like $50 or $60 and that's it. Even in that scenario, like the Aurorians are worth it's tough to say exactly how much I think they would be worth, but the Aurorians would be worth an insane amount of money. Like, I imagine a $60 Aury, and literally every single day you're able to put them on an expedition and you get Aury from it, right? Like, or there's a chance of getting Aury, but if you do a 5-man, then you're almost guaranteed to get prizes and stuff like that. And so, and then all those prizes directly translate into Aury value. And so like the amount of money that you end up making from these is just insanity. And yeah, that's kind of like the appeal for having an Aurorian. And so there is an argument to be made that it's like, well, okay, why not just buy the token and wait for the 100x or whatever? But you literally will get your Aury value from just holding that Aurorian for 2.5 years, and then you'll be able to not only sell the Aury value that you've gotten from it in like passive yield, but you're going to be able to sell the Aurorian on top of that if you want to. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, no, that completely makes sense. And Aury token isn't really listed on any major exchanges right now, right?
Yes, that's the thing. And so it's not. I'm going to tell you with absolute certainty that over time, people are going to use Solana as the de facto smart contracts platform. People aren't going to use like anything else. People are tired of Ethereum. They're tired of they're tired of the gas fees. They're tired of all the other chains like not really fulfilling their obligation to actually getting this stuff working. Solana is like the only other one, in my opinion, that really works. That isn't an EVM chain that that can actually scale to the masses and can actually appeal to everyone. And so Aurory's the only game that like is actually, in my opinion, going to make it within 2.5 years. And then on top of that, it has like the likelihood that Binance takes on the project is extremely high, in my opinion, once the team is ready, because the team has like a AAA product. I'll tell you right now, there are games that Binance has taken that look like a disaster, that have failed, that suck completely, and they're nowhere close to being as good as Aurory right now. And so to me, getting listed on Binance is a certainty. Getting listed on Coinbase is a certainty. Getting listed on pretty much every notable major exchange is going to be a certainty, in my opinion.
I think right now they're only on KuCoin and maybe one of another KuCoin substitute or equal. Once it hits Binance, though, I think it's going to be crazy, which a lot of people are kind of overlooking. I do want to segue to one more thing. So I am really bullish on Aurory as well. And the council elections are coming up in a week, maybe? I don't.
Nice.
Yeah, so I know you tweeted about possibly wanting to run for council. Are you still? What are your thoughts on that now? Are you still feeling that same way?
Well, for certain reasons, I might not want to, simply because for X reasons that I'm sure maybe some of my audience can understand, is like, maybe not want to run right now. But it's something I'll consider. But I don't know. We'll see. It kind of depends on whether or not the council even really needs it. Because the truth is that I can always just kind of give my voice behind closed doors. I don't need to be like a big public, member.
Yeah, I agree. The last podcast I recorded was actually with Jonas and Nikki. They're both council members.
Yeah.
Jonas is also one of the other guys that has 100 plus Aurorians. I think he's at 135, and he has
Jonas
a few
is a
notable
god.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jonas is gonna, like, okay, there's gonna be like, the 10 great barons of Aurory, and Jonas is gonna be one of them. I'm trying to be one of them, but but Jonas is like, he's got so many rare Aurorians, it's crazy. So he has the naked skeleton. That one is just like, that's a grail for sure in the collection. He has the full Unica, which he PFPs all the time. So that guy is just an absolute beast. And he was
Actually,
bought,
yeah, I had a really fun time actually talking to them. I re-listened to the whole podcast today, and I think I'm going to release it tomorrow. But it was funny. We were supposed to actually talk mainly about Aurory and like what the council does and all this stuff, but we got kind of sidetracked and we kind of just talked about other stuff for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. But he pretty much him and Nikki kind of said that the influence the council has on the actual project isn't as high as like I thought it would be, because I mean obviously like their project has to have some sort of like timeline, right? So if they're thinking 3 to 4 to 5 years ahead, obviously they don't want, obviously it'd be really hard to take in new ideas and then implement them in like a seamless way. So I guess it makes sense from that standpoint.
well, so, basically what the council does is the council has oversight over the DAO treasury and also anything and everything related to DAO interactions. But yeah, the DAO can't really tell the team what to do, basically, and the team can't tell the DAO what to do. So I mean, they definitely can give guidance though, and kind of give their thoughts on what they think they should do. But yeah, I would say at the moment it's kind of unclear about what the DAO should do to improve and move forward. I have a ton of ideas of what could be done, but yeah, I think the council has kind of struggled to get more traction and interest. Um, but at the same time, I don't really think that they have to do anything, because really this is about the game. It's about the game getting released and kind of exploding in popularity and interest as a result
Yeah.
of being like a quality organic work. And so yeah, I mean, there's only so much that they can do. At the end of the day, it's the onus is on the team to create the product. So, but I think most of the council has a pretty good head on their shoulders, and they're pretty smart. So I don't even know if it's necessary for me to get involved, but if they ever would want me to like give insight or, my opinion, I would. But basically I've been, yelling from the rooftops about Aurory since like, almost 2 years ago. Like it was like 1.5 years ago. I was like, this is I mean, as you know, after I made the purchase of the FTX Aurorians, right? God,
Oh yeah.
what an absolute dumpster fire that was, man.
Yeah,
Oh
you
my shit.
cemented yourself in history for sure, especially with
Dude,
Rory.
it's kind of crazy to think about, because literally the iced Helios wouldn't exist if I hadn't made that decision. It's almost like I unlocked like some secret like ending for like a game or something. You know what I mean?
Do you think other Helios owners are kind of upset that you have
No,
like the coolest looking Helios?
no, they're gonna get art upgrades anyway. So they're gonna be,
Oh
they're
yeah,
gonna,
that's
yeah,
true. That's
they're
true.
gonna get, they're gonna get art. Maybe some of them are a little, like, man, really, like,
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. I would be fucking, unless I had the fire one, I would be furious. I'm like, no way, this fucking guy just comes here. Even though we
well,
wanted him to get the Helios, right? They obviously they voted on that, and it was their decision for you to receive a Helios. But it's like this motherfucker got the coolest Helios ever.
yeah, so okay, my thoughts on that, and my thought, like, if I was one of them, I would be like a little like, man, like, really. But also at the same time, like, I've been one of the biggest proponents for Aurory. I've been like shouting from the rooftops about this project for forever, right? I've been one of the key people involved in even keeping floor price up, right? I myself have swept 100. So it's like, they can say what they want, but just to be clear, I'm sure they're fine with it anyway. But even if they were kind of a little envious or a little upset that I'll be honest, having one of the original Mint Helios, I think, is really cool, and those will always have provenance, in my opinion. And a lot of them look, all of them look really cool and interesting and fun. And not only that, but at the same time, you know, um, they're all of those Helioses are going to sell for like millions of dollars someday, in my opinion. I think that's like a certainty. They have nothing to worry about, and then the art upgrade is coming, so they're going to get art upgrades, and I'm sure that Yan or the team will talk to them individually, each of them, just to make sure that they get their preferred treatment. But like, for example, I really like the mummy one. I love the fire one, the black one. All of them are pretty cool. The clown one needs a little bit of work.
That one can be cool too, though. I think with art upgrades.
Yeah,
One
that's what I mean. Yeah.
one other point that you mentioned earlier about how Aurory doesn't have too much like hype and traction. So I talked to Oren BE on episode 2, no, episode 3. He's also known as Aurory Daily. And
I listened to that.
And he kind of mentioned that like Aurory doesn't want to fall into this like hype like rug pull type vibe. So like it's kind of good for us, right? You got the chance to collect 100 Aurorians out of pretty good entry. So it's and I'm gonna try to stack a lot of Aury token as well. So it's beneficial for us right now. And I think ultimately when they do launch a game, and the game itself unrelated to crypto, like obviously it's on Web3 right now. I don't know if they have plans. I mean, I hope they would have plans to like launch it on a popular console like a 3DS or something. I don't even know if Nintendo 3DS is like the newest Nintendo handheld thing.
They want to go mobile. So I mean, mobile is the most popular platform right now.
That is true.
So if they can get on mobile, that's going to be more than enough.
Yeah, and they need to, if they build a game that is just fun in general, that people who don't even know anything about crypto, because that's ultimately what it is, right? You want people to, you don't want only crypto users or crypto fans to be playing this game. You want everybody. You want mass adoption. So if they can achieve mass adoption without falling into like the hype train, dude, that's so good for all the Aurory holders.
Yeah, no. So I think it is a really good thing that they're doing it that way, because a lot of people just kind of buy into volume and hype and interest at the moment, but they don't really buy into fundamentals. And I think that is kind of like their loss is kind of our gain in that way. There's a lot of information asymmetry as a result. The thing is that a lot of NFTs, in my opinion, like 99.99% of all NFTs on Solana and Ethereum are like kind of worthless, in my opinion.
I think 99% of all NFT collections out there are worthless, and I think that's a good point to mention, because I think both of us are advocates for NFT collections. Obviously, you have all these crazy NFTs, right? And I tweet about NFTs, and I change my profile pictures, and I have quite a few as well. I do genuinely believe 99% of all NFT collections are going to zero. There's only a select few on both ETH and Solana that will like pass the test of time.
Well, so I think what's going to happen is, and this has been my speculation from the start, the very few collections are going to make it that aren't building brand and IP. And it basically, like, you're building out this organic, strong IP, and as a result, brand expansion happens organically. And then a community kind of arrives at it organically. For example, like, what came first, Naruto or the Naruto community, right? Like, just to use a weird example, like Naruto came first, right? Like, and so the Naruto community congregated around this big IP, and the brand expanded, and it just exploded into this worldwide phenomenon, right? Same with Pokemon. Like, Pokemon was not really that big of a deal at the start, but then over time, like, people were like, whoa, this is actually a really great show. And it just kind of, exploded in brand recognition and value in that sense. And so really, in my opinion, the only NFTs that I think are really going to make it are NFT collections that have an in-house artist. They have a studio, they have a team that are really trying to build this great strong original IP, with the exception of like a few, like maybe Solana Monkey Business ends up, being a exception, being specifically Web3 driven without having like a big IP. Like maybe there's an argument for that. Like Galactic Geckos, maybe there's an argument for them doing well too in that sense. But otherwise, like these teams that don't really have that going for them, like I would say Bored Ape has that going for them. What's it called?
I think if an NFT collection provides real life utility, in any way, shape, or form, like outside of outside of pure mass adoption. So like, if I buy into this NFT collection and now I have like, I think Bored Ape Yacht Club, they throw yacht parties and shit, right? So it's like they have some sort of utility. Or if you buy into this NFT collection and now you are in a group chat with a bunch of other like-minded individuals who are also probably business-minded, right? Because they have enough money to buy this. So I think in cases like that, like if I bought an NFT collection and now I can hang out with a bunch of like millionaires and multi-millionaires, and like the community is super dope. I'm going to these events that only we are at. I feel like those are the collections I can go crazy to. And Bored Ape is a good example, but it's also a bad example because they also have so much brand recognition at this point. But that might be an outcome of what I mentioned previously, anyways.
Yeah, no. So I think that my thesis has always been, as long as the brand gets bigger and as long as it keeps on expanding and as long as the IP keeps on growing, basically when you have a limited supply NFT collection and you have an expanding brand with a growing audience, the demand for that supply ends up growing, and the price kind of just goes up as a result of that. For example, in Pokemon, there's only like a couple Shadowless base set, first edition, mint condition, PSA 10 Charizards, right? And so those are like $1 million each, right? But it's only worth that much because the brand is so big and because the IP is so big, right? If no one really cared about it, then no one would pay that kind of money. And so, but also I do think that there needs to be some kind of utility as well. For Aurory, it's pretty clear and pretty obvious what the utility is going to be, which includes being able to have access with exclusive items and who knows what else. But we're kind of opening a can of worms here when I say that NFTs are about having token gated access to things that you normally wouldn't have access to. In some ways, it can be like a country club. And with Bored Ape Yacht Club or with CryptoPunks, it absolutely is. I would say CryptoPunks in particular doesn't have a whole lot of utility, but it has a ton of provenance. And so that kind of opens the doorway for having a token gated country club where you can kind of just talk with people of high net worth in a verifiable Discord or whatever. But I would say, yeah, there's always going to be a market for token gated country clubs, but I do think that having strong organic IP is also going to be, I think those will end up being the ones that perform extremely well long term, simply because these country clubs are kind of limited by who's in them at the time versus organic IP, which has a pre-built history. And I guess like you could argue that maybe the IP goes south and like, or maybe the artist doesn't end up creating more like great quality content down the road. But you just have to kind of pick and choose your battles with who you think is going to keep on creating quality content versus who you think isn't. So it's a risk either way. But I think, I think you just have to isolate these quality brands and IPs versus these country clubs and just decide what works for you. The only other thing that I would say with NFTs that I think will succeed are NFTs that have distinct utility to be able to access a platform. Like imagine having a token gated access to a tax software that no one else can access unless they have that NFT in their wallet, right? So there is like arguments for having NFTs for other things. But in terms of like brand NFTs or like really recognizable PFP NFTs, I think it's either country club or brand IP recognition. So
yeah, I know literal boat clubs. In without being too specific, in New York that I think the yearly membership fee is like $250,000 a year. Like I know some really expensive clubs. So I'm just thinking like if this is already a thing, right? Paying $250,000 a year to be part of a club, and obviously you have access to a lot of crazy shit. I think if an NFT collection without brand recognition provides, for lack of a better word, dividends or uh, gated access to something like you mentioned, like a tax software. I feel like that is the only way without brand recognition that an NFT collection will be successful. Because if you just have a mint and people mint the collection and trade the collection purely off of hype, once the hype dies down, they're holding an asset that is literally doing nothing for them. So what is the incentive for them to hold it? If they have access to other things or if they're getting paid dividends somehow, I don't know exactly how, obviously airdrops, right? But something more sophisticated than that. I think that's the only way an NFT collection survives without brand recognition, and that's ultimately the reason why I do think 99.99% of NFT collections are going to fail, and it's going to be crazy to watch. I do wonder what SMB is going to do. I really want to talk to somebody from SMB on the podcast. I don't know. I think I just reached out to like their main account and I didn't get a reply. You mentioned Galactic Geckos. I am going to talk to the marketing lead, I believe. His name's Only Fuds in a few days. So I definitely want to hear his standpoint because on our first podcast, I don't know if you remember, the 3 blue chips I said were DAA, Aurory, and then SMB. And I did not include Galactic Gecko or Thugbirds. I don't even. You know what's funny about is Thugbirds even still around? I feel like I don't see anybody talking about them.
Dude, Thugbirds is such a shit show. Oh my god.
I don't see any.
Like,
I don't see any
okay,
Thugbirds
okay.
PFPs or anything.
So I think that Thugbirds will always kind of have that, like, because Thugbirds performed insanely well in the Solana NFT bull run of 2021. They ended up going to like at least 100 SOL each. I don't. Did they go to even more than that? I think it was at least 100 SOL, and so they were selling for like $25,000 each. They never had any like crazy sales beyond that, but like for example, like some of the DAAs and SMBs sold for like $1 million, right? But
Yeah.
Thugbirds never sold for that much. But the thing is, like, here's kind of like my take on Thugbirds. Yeah, so Thugbirds was a derivative art. So basically, Thugbirds, and this is not to hate on Thugbirds or the Thug community, and maybe Thugbirds ends up performing well, who knows? But basically, the original artist borrowed art that he got permission. He got permission, which is fine, um, to create these, to create the Thugbirds. But it kind of just fell off. Like the artist was pretty young, didn't really know what he was doing too much. He was just kind of having fun with it, and I know a lot of money that was made in the process of all this, ended up getting kind of wasted, and it just was the project wasn't handled very well, and like there were kind of like maybe some actors involved that were just trying to siphon money. I don't really know the whole exact situation, but basically at this point the consensus it got to the point where the dev was basically not doing, the artist slash dev was not really doing anything anymore, and so they decided to entangle the entire collection so that now the Thug DAO is kind of in control of it, but you basically don't see anyone anymore in Solana NFTs yelling "caw caw," in the Twitter posts. But I do think though that there's probably an argument to be made that they were so early in the Solana NFT bull run that they probably get to stick around for the test of time in terms of history. Maybe I don't know if it's going to be that much, but like basically, yeah, nothing's really going on with them, and it's kind of just I would not say that it is a blue chip, but my opinion of blue chip is basically like, um, with the only exception being like maybe SMB, that there's a quality team building a quality product that's like masterclass, industry grade. And the only 3 that come to mind are Clanosaurs, Aurory, and DAA. And those are like the only ones that to me are like really like these are the ones that could do well. Who knows for sure what will happen? But I would say for me, it would certainly be Cleanosaurs and Aurory in first and second place, and then maybe DAA for third. Only because, like, does the DAA team really have money at the moment? I don't really think so. But also, you just can't really beat like the 60+ man team that Aurory has, and you can't really beat the studio that Cleanosaurs has for animation. And so I would say that those three are like for sure like Bluechips, and then SMB just has like a pretty strong Solana Web3 community. So it's all of those. Uh, it would be those four, and then maybe you toss GGSG in there. Maybe there's an argument for OK Bears and like maybe some other stuff. But I would say in terms of brand recognition and building IP, it would be those first three, and then everything else kind of like in the water. Like maybe they do, maybe they don't, but I'm leaning towards not likely.
Yeah, Thugbirds right now, their floor price on Magic Eden is 11.14 Solana,
Yeah,
which is surprising.
I'm gonna be totally forthright and say that if you have to, like, okay, without trying to sound like a dick, okay, if you have to borrow pixel art to create
Yeah,
derivatives,
yeah. The art,
with
I'm
no,
gonna be honest too. The
right.
art fucking sucks.
I mean, I'm not trying to say that the art sucks. I'm just saying that it's like, can the artist build out a brand? Can they build out, IP that's really industry grade, that's going to stand the test of time? To me, the answer is, I'm not to sound like a dick, and I don't like, the answer is no. But like when you compare it to Degen Apes, when you compare it to Aurory, when you compare it to Cleanosaurs, nothing comes even remotely close. And the reason why I'm kind of a little, not so certain about OK Bears is because I don't even think that the original artist is in house, right? So that's another core difference, is that all the original animators for Cleanosaurs and the artists, they're in house. Aurory, it's in house. DAA, it's in house. But a lot of these other projects do not have their artists in house. So how do they end up building out an organic IP and brand if the artist isn't doing anything or doesn't intend to do anything, right? How do they build upon something that the original artist no longer wants to create? They need to get someone else to do it. But can that someone else really do the art justice? I don't know. And so that's a critical element that needs to be a part of each and every collection. Otherwise, it's like, then otherwise you're not betting on the brand long term. You're not betting on IP long term. What you're actually betting on is hype and
And narrative, essentially.
yeah, you're hoping for hype and volume to kind of pump your token, and then maybe you get to sell it to the next guy. But really, if you're trying to go strongly with fundamentals, you buy into something that where they're trying to build out an organic IP over time. But because a lot of these collections aren't really trying to do the hype game, they kind of get overlooked. But those are the ones that are going to stand the test of time, in my opinion. Like, absolutely, no question.
I wish I had more liquid on hand, because there's some steals for Degen Apes right now that I haven't seen in a very long time. Like the second cheapest one on Magic Eden is one with the beige coat, and it looks sick. It's less than 50 Solana, which in a bull market you will never see these prices again. I have one last question about Solana NFTs in general. It's kind of a random question. So do you ever just randomly buy like obvious rug pull NFT collections if they're super cheap? And the reason I'm asking you that now is because I searched Aurory on Magic Eden, and there's a collection that popped up called Dead Aurory, which is obviously not affiliated with Aurory at all.
Yeah.
But the floor price is 0.01 Solana, and they do look kind of sick. And that's 25 cents. 25 cents a fucking NFT.
Well, yeah. So no, I don't buy any of those because I mean they're like, okay, it's gonna sit in my wallet, and what is it gonna do, right? It's not
You
gonna
can
do
just look at its art.
I mean, I could look at it, but I could also look at it from Magic Eden, right? So it's like, it's like, do I really want to own this? Is it really going to give me anything in the process? Like, how do I benefit from holding this? And uh, there's a big difference for me. Like, okay, if I hold a Degen Ape, it's cool because it has a ton of provenance, and like that gives me a lot of value, in that sense. It gives me a lot of fulfillment in that sense. But when I buy like a dead Aurory or whatever, I don't get that same fulfillment because I know it's like a ripoff. I know they borrowed IP that didn't belong to them, and I know that I can just look at it, on Magic Eden without inadvertently endorsing it by buying it with a wallet that I don't actually have. I will say this though, which is that I have definitely minted a handful of rugs. I have definitely, inadvertently minted stuff that the devs just ended up rugging like the next day. So like, I think I ended up punting like $5,000 into these like pixelated chimpanzees. I was like, you know what? If pixel art's doing so well, maybe I'll just mint these pixelated chimpanzees. Let's see what happens. And then sure enough, like the next day, the devs were like, "All right, see you later," and then they just rugged, and I lost $5,000. I was kind of upset, but but it was only because like Solana was so valuable at the time, and I mean, obviously now it's like not so much. So it would only cost me like $20 to mint those. It was like one soul per mint, and I ended up getting just totally owned on that.
Yeah, I definitely got wrecked on. Do you remember Soul Snatchers?
Yes. Actually, I
Dude,
kind of like the Soul Snatcher art, to be
dude,
honest.
the art is fucking sick, especially at the time of the mint. The
Yeah.
art was insane. Like I ended up buying a Jason Voorhees Soul Snatcher for really, really low, and I think there was only 10 of them, or so. I'm pretty sure there was only 10. So I was super ecstatic. I'm like, dude, I finally got like one of these fucking insane NFTs. And then they ended up rugging. I think they rugged because I don't think they're around
Oh,
anymore.
wait. Okay, hold on. So, wait, Soul Snatchers is it looks like these ghosts? Is that
No,
right?
they're skeletons.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what I thought. Hold on. I'm trying to find them.
They're on Magic Eden.
Okay. Soul Snatchers. Why are there so many?
Soul Snatcher, no space. SOL Snatcher.
Okay. Soul Snatcher, no space. Okay, there it is. Yes. Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Dude, these
Oh,
are sick. I think they look sick.
it says the content has been flagged. I guess it was a rug.
Yeah, 1,000% was a rug.
These look kind of cool. I remember seeing people show these on the timeline. I saw an FTX one, and I was like, "This is really cool." And like, I was kind of hyped. I was like trying to get it actually at one point. I was like, "Yo, I'm gonna get this FTX one."
Did
But
they have an FTX? I didn't even see that one. It's crazy.
there was like an honorary FTX one that was minted, but it never reached the light of day. I should try to find it actually, but it does in fact exist. I'll try to find it at some point. I think it was an honorary. I'm pretty sure it was an honorary. Um,
I
well,
can't
okay,
find. I
either it's in
can't.
the main collection or for sure was an honorary. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a Jason Voorhees one. I can't even find. There might not be any on Magic Eden, so I can't see them. But
Uh,
yeah, I had one that was super, super, super rare, and I think I only bought it for. I think I bought it for 10 Solana or something. Like, it wasn't much. It was like the day of the mint, and I thought I had an absolute steal, and they ended up fucking rugging. So that sucks. But I mean,
uh,
there are. I wouldn't obviously I would not buy this shit now, even though the floor is 0.048. It's like I asked you that because I thought it was kind of funny. There's a collection, I think it's called Drip, and it's like I think it's just a bunch of like randomly generated art, and there's like a fucking ton of them. Like the supply is so high, so they're not worth anything. Oh, it's Drip Season 1 is a collection on Magic Eden.
oh no, so Drip House is legit. I mean, you signed up for that, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. But Drip Season, the Drip Season 1 NFT collection. So there's a total supply of 417,000, right?
yeah.
So super high volume. So they don't. I think the art is. I'm assuming the art is generated because there's so many that look pretty much identical. Maybe they are identical. And I saw
No,
the one the
so
other day for like 0.02 Solana, and I thought it looked dope, so I just bought it.
no, so basically, Drip House they do these airdrops. It's either weekly or daily, I don't know, but they perform airdrops for several wallets, and they drop the same NFT basically. I actually don't know all the details to be honest, but I
Thank
just
you, thank you by the way for that last minute lob on the Drip House
yeah.
code.
So
Even though we did not win the Degen Ape, how I also don't know how they figure. Like they just tweeted and they said winner, and then they tagged somebody. But it's like how, like my Twitter wasn't connected to my wallet, so I wonder how they did it. I mean, I'm assuming they did it properly, but
Well, no. What I think probably happened was they probably just um, they looked on Twitter, or they looked to see who had their wallets connected to their Twitter wallet. And if you didn't have it connected, maybe you were out of luck. Who knows? But I wouldn't worry about it. I'm sure they handed it out fairly.
yeah.
They have nothing to gain from faking it. Basically, I mean, I guess a DJ Ape is like $1,000 at the moment, but even still, my impression is that they're performing all these big airdrops that surely they don't need a $1,000. I'm sure they have to find
Yeah.
that.
No. Yeah, I didn't even mean to imply that they did it like maliciously.
Yeah,
I didn't know if they because if you had to have verified your Twitter with your wallet, I mean I wouldn't have been able to do it anyways because I wasn't at home. Or maybe I could have from my phone, I guess, but I'm sure they did it properly anyways. And yeah, DAAs I think are hovering for like 1,200 right now, 1,300, so they don't really gain much by faking giving one away. I
yeah,
do think we've been talking about NFTs for too long.
yeah,
Because last time we did this, we went for 4 hours, which I don't mind. But I do want to I do want to talk about other stuff, right? So
yeah.
recently you did break your ankle. Do you do you want to do you want to talk about
Yeah,
that at all?
yeah. Oh, dude, yeah, sure. So, okay, I was literally okay. My my background, as you know, is business finance, and I just decided, kind of like on a whim, I was like, you know what, I'll try trucking for a bit. Like, I just wanted to travel, check out, other parts of the world, see what else was going on out there. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do. I'll just try it out. And I applied to this top tier trucking company, and that's what I was doing. But you have to perform. It wasn't no touch freight, and what that means is you have to perform securement, which means you have to tie down stuff to either a flatbed trailer or a step deck or like a double drop, or all sorts of different trailers. You have to tie stuff down and make sure it's properly secured before
Yep.
driving off. And so I was performing on a flatbed trailer, and I stepped down onto it from a higher platform, but I stepped down onto it the wrong way, and I tripped and yeah, I tripped and broke my ankle. It wasn't a major fracture, but it's enough to the point where they were like, yeah, you can't work anymore. And so,
Yeah,
but
I know the exact types of trucks you're talking about. So a lot of people don't know this, but I also worked at a chemical plant not that long ago, and part of the job was we would create a bunch of shit, right? And then part of the job was hop on a fork truck, grab a pallet that's full of all the products, and then
yep,
load it onto a big ass truck or a big ass
yep,
trailer. And
yep,
then we never loaded them onto flatbeds, because it was like literally hazardous chemicals.
yep,
So, but we did like strap them down and whatnot. But we would get orders of like empty pallets, empty containers and stuff on flatbeds. So I know the exact type of flatbed that you probably stepped down on, and I can 100. I was talking to somebody the other day about how you broke your ankle.
yeah.
Funny enough, and they were kind of confused about it. I'm like, nah. If you worked at any of these locations, or even like no, like are familiar with the equipment, dude, one regular step in like the wrong environment, you can break your ankle without a doubt.
It is.
I wasn't surprised at all when you said you broke your ankle.
Well, yeah, no. So yeah, it was actually kind of a shock to me too. It was just stepping down onto a lower platform, uh, and that was it. I was very shocked when it happened. See, the thing is when you're stepping down onto a lower platform, you don't have an opportunity to catch yourself with your right foot, right? So
Yeah.
I broke my. So you're imagine I'm stepping down onto the lower platform, but my right foot is still on the upper platform. So when I'm stepping down, I don't have an opportunity to catch myself. So when I
Yep.
trip and hit my ankle the wrong way, I have no way to catch myself with my right foot in time. And so, and basically, I was doomed from the start.
Yeah,
Uh,
if you lift your right foot up, then all the weight goes to your left foot. So it's like it's
exactly.
lose lose. I I hairline fractured my ankle like 2 summers ago. I think I was playing basketball, and It was in like somebody's backyard type thing, and I went for like a floater, like a high layup, but I had so much momentum that I ended up out of bounds, and then I stepped onto like a sinkhole in the ground, just so unlucky, and I bounced from that, and like I jumped off, and I landed onto like another grass sinkhole, and then I ended up hairline fracturing my ankle, and that
Yeah,
shit sucks. There's really no way to save yourself when you're when you're going down.
it's dog shit. It's not fun at all. It's just like, but at the time, you're not even sure if it was a hairline fracture. You're like, oh,
Dude,
maybe.
yeah, I was about to say you probably didn't even know you broke your ankle. You probably
Well,
just thought it was
so
like a little sprain.
yeah, so check it out. So yeah, I was like, oh, maybe it's a sprain. Maybe I just twisted a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit of a ligament issue, but I got to finish this load. And so literally on a broken ankle, I finished the load, and it was so painful. And then as I was driving off, I was just like, man, this really hurts. And I told the company, I was like, I don't think I can deliver this load. Like as soon as I get over there, because I have to undo all the securements and everything, and like I was like, no, like my foot is swelling and it's not going away. And as soon as I stepped down onto it, like one time, like afterwards, like the next day, I was like, yeah, this is cooked. And so I just said, no, I'm not doing this. And then turned out, yeah, actually, in fact, it was broken. And so that was a shock to me. And I was like, you know what, this job just isn't worth it. Like, because I was kind of, I was hoping to just be doing a lot of traveling and just checking out, all parts of like the U.S. that I hadn't been to yet. And I saw some really beautiful places. I'm not going to lie. And so I don't regret it even for a second. But like, it's just the risk is just always there. And I kind of feel bad for truckers now because it almost feels like a time bomb. Like something bad is going to happen eventually to you. Like you're going to step the wrong way when you're performing securement. You could get into an accident. You could get hit. There could be a nasty truck accident. Like something's going to happen. It's going to happen at some
Yeah, and it's
level.
not healthy sitting down for how
Yeah.
many hours were you allowed to drive every day?
So you're allowed to drive 11 in the US and 13 in Canada. And so
Yeah, so 11 hours every day is just, bro, so bad on the knees.
they're working you like a dog, right? So you have to drive those 11 hours. So you're driving 11 hours a day and you get 70 hours a week. But like most of the time you're going to get those you're going to be worked like crazy. And so at that point I was like, you know what, this just isn't worth it. I gained weight while I was on it, and your diet isn't that great either because
Your diet's gonna be, yeah, your diet's gonna be shit, right? You're probably just stopping, if you are even stopping at diners, right? If not, you're probably eating a lot of gas station
Well,
food.
so the thing is, you can't even stop at diners because when you have those trucks and you have a trailer attached to it, you can't just drive
Yeah,
it. You can't
yeah,
even
there's
just
no
park
parking.
anywhere. Yeah, you can only park basically at truck stops or rest areas, and most of the time you're not going to find anything else. And so you're kind of just so you can't just go into a nice place. Now the truck stops do have some healthy options, but it's like most of the time you're going to feel enticed to just get a quick burger and just be on your way. Like it's really bad eating. Truthfully, you have to have like a
Yeah,
yeah.
you're gonna eat super high dense like calorie dense, low protein food when you're at a gas station. How many? I feel like I'm definitely gonna ask. How many lot lizards have you seen in your trucking
Oh
career?
yeah. So I only saw probably two. So the very first time I saw one, um, she was just hanging out, like minding her own business, talking, looking at a cell phone, trying to act like inconspicuously while also looking around a little bit. But I'll tell you right now, like, man, I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. Like she was an orca. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
she was a little big, and hey, if I got a little bit of weight, there's nothing wrong with that. Having a little bit of weight, no big deal. But she was a big girl, and she had all this makeup on, and I was like, no way, no shot in a million years would I be tapping that. It's just not happening. And
You know,
then
it's funny though. I mean, you've seen other truckers, and you know why. And I know so
dude,
many of them would do
oh yeah.
entangle with that.
Well, okay. Here's the problem. Relationships are really hard for truckers. It's pretty difficult, handling a relationship while you're constantly out 3 weeks at a time, and it's hard for partners to stay committed in that scenario. And I so, But man, I'll tell you what, dude. Like, I would sooner. I just, it's so gross to me. You don't know where they've been, what they're doing. Like,
I mean, yeah, I mean, any hooker of any kind is fucking
yeah,
disgusting.
yeah, well, yeah. Like, look, I understand they're trying to make ends meet. They're doing their thing, but I don't want any part of that shit. Like, no shot. And plus, I'm at that like point in time at like where it's like, even if the opportunity like presents itself, and they're like, look, all and though they're down to go downtown, if you know what I'm saying, like, it's just like let's face it, like where's the relationship going to go after this? Like, I'm just going to kick her out and just be like, okay, now get the fuck out, right? Like, I'm not that type of guy, right? I don't.
You're way too wholesome that you would even consider that the thought of a relationship even crossed your mind.
No, well, no, it's not the thought of a relationship. It's more like okay, we could, what's going to happen after this? You're only going to feel bad. I'm telling you, dude. There have been times where like I've slept with women where it's like, fuck, I feel terrible after doing this because I know that I was just. Have you seen that skit with Joe Rogan? Or it's not a skit, but Joe Rogan's talking to this guy and he's talking about what is it called? Post nut syndrome.
Post nut clarity with
Post-nut clarity, yeah.
Andrew Schultz.
Yeah. Where they're like, you're in the back of the bus and like you can't really see straight, and someone else is driving for you, and that's your dick, and like you can't.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
I know as soon as I get off that bus, I'm gonna hate myself. Like, I'm just gonna be like, man, why did I do that?
Yeah, 1,000%. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to explain to the woman like, hey, look, I'm sorry, but like, it's just
You don't have to explain to them. You wouldn't have to explain shit. It's just a pure transaction.
Yeah. So well, yeah, I know. For them, well, even then, it's like, but there's no fulfillment from me, right? It's like I get no fulfillment from doing that with someone who I know I'm not even going to spend time with. There's no building of anything happening here.
You're in your early 30s, right?
Yeah, I'm 32. So
yeah, you're at that perfect age where hookup culture is not your thing.
No, it's just not. I'm so over it. Like, I've seen everything go south too many times. I've had my heart broken for sure. I've had to break hearts too. I've been there, done that. I'm over it. Like, I'm just like, fuck no. Like, I'll spend my night with a hand if I have to. Like,
bro, I feel you. There's been plenty of nights I listened to Marvin's Room on repeat where when I didn't want to. I'm just thinking about right now the random crypto Twitter user that's listening to this podcast and is like, why the fuck are they, how did they come to this? But this is the type of content, quality content that you get on this podcast. We don't talk about just crypto. Yeah. We talk about lot lizards and getting your heart broken by random bitches.
Yeah.
Random women,
dude,
sorry.
No, dude, women are just, dude, man. I mean, they're, it's a blessing and a curse, but I'm sure they feel the same way about men. So
I think they, what's funny? I feel like they probably feel the way I don't trust women. I think women don't trust men even more.
Yeah,
which rightfully so. Like, rightfully so.
Yeah, no, I think both parties. There's no party, no one's innocent, right? But I do think it becomes problematic when one party thinks that the other party is just always bad, right? It's not as simple or cut and dry as that.
Yeah,
I know some women who just hate men, who are just frustrated, don't understand why they can't be in a relationship for a long period of time, and it's vice versa as well. There was a woman that I was really attracted to for a long time, and it just and all the signals were there. We were talking, we went on the coffee date, and it's like, and things were going well, but then like there was just, I guess, someone else or whatever. And it was like, well, what the fuck? Why did we waste all this time in the first place? It's like, why are you playing around, pulling me on a leash or whatever? And it's just, I mean, that shit happens. Or like, they just do things that don't make any sense. And you're just like, why can't we just make this work? And it is what it is. So,
there's a quote. Yeah. There was a quote I heard a long time ago. Women understand women and they all hate each other. So that kind of sums up.
I guess so, right? I feel like men are pretty chill with each other though, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like it's probably the last thing I'll say about women, I guess. I feel like they their relationships definitely aren't as real as dudes' relationships. Like, I mean, and I think Instagram comments are the most obvious. You'll see some girl some girl posts a regular ass picture, and the comments are like breathtaking. Oh my god, you're so brave. This is such a beautiful
Oh,
picture. Thank you for
oh,
posting this. And on dudes' pictures, like I don't even want to say the word that's coming to mind. Like the type of like
oh
if
yeah,
I
no. So yeah, let me put this into perspective. I can relate. So when you go on Tinder and you're a guy, you don't get as many swipes, anywhere close to as many swipes as if you put yourself as female seeking male, right? So if you're male seeking female, you're not going to get as many swipes as if you're male seeking as if you're female seeking male. I know this because just on a whim, I was like, you know what, like why am I not getting, I'm not going to pretend like I'm a massive 10 out of 10 super ripped jock, right? So I was
yeah
like, I mean, I get some likes here and there. Like I think if I go on my Tinder right now, I've got like 27 likes, right? It's like, okay, that's cool. But I'm like, okay, well, why don't I have more? And then I was just thinking to myself, like, what's going on here that makes it so that the pool of availability that I have is not as high as one of these other ripped guys, or someone else, and I'm like, I wonder how women feel about this. And so just for fun, I set myself as female seeking male, so you can change your gender. And
yeah
then the next day, I had over 1,000 likes. And so what I realized at that point is men are like 99% of men are down bad. I gotta say it. Like they're all just swiping right on everything that has two legs.
yeah.
And
I think
you're gonna see
yeah
it in the Instagram comments. And I was like, this is what's fucking happening.
yeah.
Like,
I was gonna say I think you misconstrued what I meant. So like when
oh, okay.
you are right though, right? But I'm talking about on Instagram. Like it could be a girl posting like a regular ass selfie, and all of her female friends are commenting and be like, "Oh my god, this is so stunning!"
Oh,
Like, and they're all fake. They don't
okay.
fucking really like each other. Like they're friends for like a year, and they're commenting and like supporting, and it's so fake. Like if a dude posted a picture, none of his boys are commenting and being like, "Oh my god, bro, you're so handsome."
Oh, I
Actually,
totally misconstrued
some of
that.
my, yeah, no, but yeah. But I mean, what you mentioned was accurate too, though. I think it's like the top 10% of men get like 90% of likes from on dating
Yeah.
apps and whatever. But that's been like I think that's been that way for eternity. Like it's just now globalized, so we see it in like a broad scale. But I
Yeah,
mean,
in real
obviously, like
time.
top 10% of dudes in like one city are probably like I can't even. There's not even a way to say it. That sounds normal, but like the top 10% of dudes in one city are just like railing everything, and like obviously like the bottom tier men aren't might like have a girlfriend like once every few years or something. But that's just been that way forever, I think, and the internet just made
Yeah.
it easier.
Yeah, I think
It's so
so.
funny.
But yeah, I would say like, well, I feel like yeah, the girls definitely like are complimentive, or they're much more complimenting of each other, and the men are kind of just like sick, bro. Like or like not at all. You
Dude,
know what I mean?
if a girl
They
posts a
just don't
picture
say anything.
a million likes, if my friend
I
posts a
know.
selfie and the selfie is kind of like if I can make fun of it in any way, I'll probably screenshot it and send it in the group chat and like
well, well,
call him something I'm not allowed to say here.
Well, this is what I mean. Is like if you're a girl online just posting pics and like all of a sudden like you're gonna get a ton of likes from a ton of horny dudes that are just trying to get it in there most of the time. Like I mean, there are like authentic people and there are like real dudes that are more interested in like a real interaction that aren't just like trying to hit that
Yeah.
shit. But you know what I'm saying? It's like it's
Hookup
just that's
culture
yeah.
hookup culture is very real though. And I'm at that age where it kind of disgusts me, but I still partake in hookup culture way more often
I,
than I'd like to admit. So it's like
I'm
it's one of
still a
those I'm still
connoisseur of the hookups.
yeah, well, I'm like the
Jeez.
biggest hypocrite when it comes to that type of shit. It's
No,
funny too. I'm just
yeah.
thinking about the perception of the conversation. I can already see somebody being like, "These fucking crypto incels talking about women. They don't know shit about real life. They live on
They
the
don't know
internet."
anything, dude. No, yeah, dude, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. Life goes on, but
That
you
is so
know,
funny.
yeah,
That was the last thing I expected to talk about. It's so fucking funny, but it's so relatable too at the same time.
yeah. It's because we brought up lot lizards, right, and just
This,
trucking, and
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Once you mentioned trucking and like stopping at rest stops, for some reason in my mind that just clicked. The word, the phrase "lot lizard," fucking hilarious. It
yeah,
literally just means
yeah.
a hooker that's in like a parking lot or like a rest stop or whatever.
Yeah,
But
they've mostly been eliminated from all truck stops because it's like super illegal and it's pretty it's pretty enforced at this point. But every so often, you'll see one sneaking around, snooping around, getting into the cab of a truck driver, like every so often. But it's not super common, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, so truck stops are like regular highway gas stations. Half of them are like truck stops, right?
No. So
Are they
there's,
are they different than like a regular person?
I would say
Uh,
there's four main truck stop areas, and one of them is called. So there's a truck stop chain called Loves. There's a franchise called Flying J, or it's called Pilot Flying J. There's one called TA, and then there's one called Petro. And so those four are probably the most popular ones. But I would say of them, Loves and Flying J slash Pilot are the biggest ones. And so the reason why they're different from normal truck stops is because they actually have they have truck spots that you can
they
actually
have like
park
they have like
at.
showers and stuff too, right?
Yeah, they have showers. You can actually shower in there. You can do your laundry. Sometimes they have like a driver's lounge. You can just chill out, hang out. They have usually a pretty good assortment of food that you can choose from, alongside like a fast food restaurant that's like attached to it. But I would say the other thing too is that the fuel islands that you can go into are built for trucks. Whereas if you try to pull into a normal gas station, there's a chance you're going to hit something. You're going
There's
to
a
break
chance
something
the roof
with
of
a
your truck hits the fucking roof of like the
yeah, you cannot just pull into a Chevron and hope things are going to work out. It just doesn't happen. You have to
yeah,
go into
no.
like this is what I mean when I say like you're extremely limited in where you can go and what you can do, and like even your exercise, because you can't drive that vehicle everywhere, and also you're responsible for it. And so like basically you're extremely limited, and unless you're like trying to Uber everywhere while you have your vehicle parked, like that's a lot of money that you don't really feel like you don't really want to have to spend just trying to find a place to exercise. So either you're exercising in the parking lot looking like a doofus, or and you don't really want to go outside either, because there are some places that aren't that great. There's
Yeah.
some places that are pretty shady looking, and you're just trying to chill with the other truck drivers, staying in your cab, keeping to yourself. You don't want to like leave your truck, and then who knows who tries to break into your truck and steal stuff, right? It's like that's the kind of environment that I was in. I was like, all right, I'm done with this. So I just, after I broke my ankle, I was like, I quit. So
I was just about to ask you, literally I was just about to ask you, since you broke your ankle, did you officially quit or are you just planning
so
on it?
I was planning on it, but because I was like, okay, I already worked here for 3 months, and once you have 3 months experience, you can pretty much go wherever. In
Yeah.
terms of, oh, well, normally you want to have 6 months, but I was like, I'll just do 3 months, and I was going to put in my 2 weeks, and then after that, I was like, I'm going to put in my 2 weeks now, and I actually get workers comp, which is pretty cool, and so they're paying me like 900. I mean, not that I really need it, but $900 a week. So I was like, oh, okay, that's great. And so that's all well and good, but I was like, yeah, I just want to get out of here. I'm just gonna go on, do something else. Um, I mean, $900 is not anywhere near as much as they were paying me when I was actually working. Normally, I make like I was making like 1,800 to 2,000
Yeah.
a week. Um, but I was like, yeah, it's time to call it in. Like the amount of effort you have to put into this gig, and the amount of like stress, and like the chance that you end up breaking something, or you get into an accident, all of it like combined together is a lot higher than any other job that I've ever done or ever even seen
Yeah,
or
yeah,
talked about.
it's yes,
Yeah,
that's why you get paid so much, right? You get paid this.
yeah.
I feel like trucking is a great job for people that don't want to go to school or don't like it's actually really a really popular job amongst a lot of like immigrant communities. Like a lot of
Well,
Indian people like become truckers because they make so much fucking money from it, and you don't really. I mean, you need no education really. You just have to pass. You have to get your
yeah.
CDL.
Yeah, you would be surprised actually that there are a number of people that are just like they don't really like dealing with the corporate environment. They don't really like dealing with the boss. And so they're like, you know what? I'm just going to drive a truck, and I'm just going to drive around and listen to podcasts and do my own thing, which was basically me. And there are business owners that I met actually at that specific company that I was at, that were also driving trucks. So it's like you'd be surprised. There's people from like all walks. Dude, they're like one of the smartest guys that I think I've met in recent history. He was like a former surgeon doctor, but he had developed like some dementia, and so he was having trouble like in that office environment that he used to be a part of. And so he said, you know what, I'm just going to do something that requires a little bit a little bit less mental energy and just do this instead. And so it was kind of crazy. He had some anger management issues. Like when I first met him, like his knuckles were bleeding because this might be too much for the podcast, but like he had punched like the sun. What was it? Something in his truck. It was the sunroof. He had punched the sunroof because he was mad that the company was kind of fucking him over with the amount of miles he was getting. And I was like, whoa. But this was a pretty smart guy. So anyway, like you'd be surprised who you'd actually run into that is doing trucking. But yeah, there's plenty of people certainly that they just do it because it's easy. It doesn't require much thought. They don't have to go to school for it, and it pays pretty well. But for me personally, I was just mostly doing it because I was like, why not? Let's travel a little bit. Let's check out some places and just listen to podcasts. It sounded great, but if I were to do it again, I would want no touch free, but like managing my weight and like my diet was so terrible that I'm just never gonna.
It's too. I mean, it sounds in theory, it sounds like it wouldn't be too hard to go work out 3 times a week and not eat like shit. But when you're in that type of position, it's fucking impossible. So now that you're done with trucking, are you gonna go into like the corporate business finance world, or are you gonna just purely be a trader? I could recommend you or refer you to where I work, but that would require doxing myself, which I don't mind if you do want a super professional corporate job.
No, so what ended up happening was before I even did trucking, before I did any of this, like I was just trading full time. And so I'm really good at trading these markets for the most part. If the price of Solana, like if I make an entry and the price of Solana moves like 20 cents up, I've made like $1,000 in a day, right? So like just the amount of money that I can make just trading these charts is a lot greater than.
And that's with no leverage too, right? Like no leverage.
Well, so I like to use a little bit of leverage. So
what do you use? Like what platform are you using?
So I've been told that, well, okay, so I'm trying to move off this platform, to be honest. Not that I dislike it, but the problem is that I really don't like the fact that there's no stop loss on this platform, which is not good. You really need to have stop losses when you're trading on leverage. And so I was like, yeah, I'm not doing this platform anymore, but I was trading on Mango Markets. There, and so it doesn't require KYC. It's a DEX, but you have to use a VPN. If you live in the US. But there are other markets, or there are other platforms that I've been recommended recently. And let's see here. The two that I was recommended recently was Mexi and BingX. And so apparently those two you can trade on.
I don't trust the thing is I don't trust anything. Like it might sound ignorant from my standpoint. Like
no, you're right.
I don't trust any of that shit, especially with enough position size. Like what for like you mentioned 20 cents, right? To make $1,000. So what? That's like a $100,000 position that moves 1%. You make that $1,000. The only place I use leverage is KuCoin, and UI wise, KuCoin is actually great. But the way they do some stuff is kind of fucked. Like they have their mark price is like different than like the actual price, and it's just so stupid the way it works. Yeah. So you can get liquidated without it reaching the liquidation point. In theory, they have like their own system. I'm not sure if that's across all markets, if that's how it works, but I'm only familiar with KuCoin, really.
So if the price reaches a certain point and KuCoin will liquidate you. If it's pretty close, then I wouldn't get too mad about it.
No, there's been times where they've had issues, and you would buy into something, and then your position size would say like you're green, but then if you like market sold, you just lost like everything, and it's like, dude, what the fuck?
Well, no, that's because there's very low liquidity. So you have to. So you never want to use an actual. You don't want to use a market stop loss. You want to use a stop limit, and so a stop limit is when once the price has reached a certain level, an order is automatically put in to sell at a certain price, and you don't just market sell into the order book. Because if you market sell into the order book, you're going to get fucked. like almost 99% of the time, unless you're on an extremely liquid exchange, like
I usually don't trade super low liquidity like shit coins. Usually I try not to. Usually I'm trading like major coins.
No, the only coins that I'll trade are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and I like to trade Solana. I like to keep my principal, I like to keep my my balance in Solana because I really think that that's going to be the de facto smart contracts platform. I don't really believe in anything else to actually get the job done. But
you don't take profit into USDC at all?
No. So what I do is I as soon as I make that $1,000, I just close the position. I'm like, okay, that's a wrap. Like that's it, and I take out. So for example, in Solana, if it goes up 20 cents, 10 cents, if it goes up 10 cents, I make that 500, and I'm just like, okay, I'm going to close out the 500 for the day, and I'm pretty comfortable closing out at $400, $500 a day. And now, obviously, it doesn't always work out that way, and sometimes I take a loss as well. So I mean, this isn't like perfect, right? But ideally, I try to average out around 500 a day if I can. Instead of 500, and then I only try to work like 5 days a week. But how much
leverage are you using?
I don't use that much leverage. I use like 1x at most.
Okay, yeah. So
and I use a very small principal, and I don't keep my entire balance on any exchange ever.
Yeah, of course. So I'm thinking this is how I kind of think of that, right? So since you do think Solana is essentially the future, the way I would view it is I would use no leverage at all, just pure spot, right?
No, so my problem with using pure spot is that if I use pure spot, then I have to sell my Solana balance in order to make ends meet. I want to use leverage so that I don't have to lower my Solana balance. So basically, let's say hypothetically, like I'm trading with 2,000 Sol, right? And let's say I'm only holding a spot Solana, and so I buy at 44,000, or I buy at $20, and it goes up to $21, and so that just so I guess I get because it went up $1, I gained $2,000 on no leverage, right, in spot. Yep. But if I say, okay, I want to take profit now, then what I could do is I could sell $2,000 worth of Solana, and then but if I sell all of my 2,000 Sol into USD, then I don't have exposure to Solana, right? So basically, I like using leverage so that I keep my initial exposure and I don't have to sell my spot holdings, right? Because long term, I'm bullish on this asset.
When you say using leverage, like what do you? So what? Because I'm a little confused here on why you wouldn't just be able to spot buy and then sell like the profit for the day. So if the profit for the day was 500,
okay, think about it. So let's say you bought 2,000 Sol at $20. That's $40,000. It goes up to $21. And so your USD valuation of your 2,000 Sol is now $42,000. So what do you do to take profit?
Probably, sell it. I guess sell it all, and then you net the 500, unless you want to keep everything in Sol.
Well, no. So you would net $2,000, but the problem is now you have no exposure to Solana, and so. But what if Solana keeps on going up beyond $21? Right. Well, then, in order to buy back in, your principal balance of 2,000 Sol is now lower because the price has gone up after you already sold. So I want to hold a Solana balance without having to actually sell the Solana balance in order to make profit.
Are you taking like a collateral loan against the Solana and then trading the loan?
That's how leverage works. Yeah.
Okay. No.
So basically, you set the 2,000 Sol as collateral, and then you borrow against that to trade. So that's
what's happening. I used to do that with Solend. And I only did it because I didn't trust KuCoin and I didn't trust other exchanges. So that I feel like that's not the normal. It might be the normal thing in crypto to do that way, but that's definitely not the normal way people use leverage. Like
that is leverage trading. That is 100%.
Yeah. No. I know that's leverage trading, but like if you go on KuCoin and you just do like a 3x leverage trade, right? You don't see the back end of like you're borrowing money. Like or you're taking a collateral loan out. So in that sense, yeah, that makes complete sense. You're just taking
Well,
collateral loans out
yeah,
and then using
yeah,
that to trade. And that
yeah.
way,
So
in theory, too, like the Solana that you had, you're not selling, so there's no taxable event as well. But
yeah,
yeah,
so
okay,
it's just
that
it's
makes
just
that makes way more sense.
yeah, it's just pure profit. There's nothing crazy going on outside of that. So that's the ideal setup for me. And so I'm able to hold my initial Solana position. I take profit in USD, and I still hold the
What
remaining
would your
2,000 SOL.
what would your liquidation price be?
Basically, it's pretty much unreachable. It would have to go less than $10. And that's if I don't add collateral. The thing
Yeah,
is if if I feel like if it actually got close to $10, then I would just say, okay, well then I'm just gonna load up on some extra. I'm just gonna buy more or add collateral to the account, and it would never
yeah,
get
of course.
liquidated.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
use an extremely small amount of leverage, and I never enter a position that you can never know for sure that a position isn't going to perform well, but I usually enter a pretty safe positions. There's no certainties, okay, and leverage trading is extremely dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. Because you could lose everything. So this is not financial advice of any kind, but I've done it for over 3 years, and so
Yeah, yeah, I don't.
if you find basically my opinion is I feel pretty strongly that there's just no way I would ever get liquidated on um trading Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Solana. I don't think I've actually never been liquidated once. I've come close to back in my early days. I came close to getting liquidated on BitMEX. That was a complete shit show, but luckily I shorted. That was during the March COVID dump of 2020, but I flipped my bias and I shorted just before the massive dump to like $3,000. The $3,000 Bitcoin price. It was like 3,600. That was like the closest I've ever been to getting liquidated because it dumped from 7,200 to 3,600 in a single day within hours. So
Unlike you, I have been liquidated more times than than I'd want to admit. But that's
no.
because I do 5x Lev plays on KuCoin, and there's some days that are great where you're like, bro, and if you practice proper risk management, I think like what each trade is supposed to be like 2% of your bag. So for easy math, if you have $100 in your trading bag, each play you should only be able to lose $2. So like with 5x Lev, that's a $10 position, so a 10% position based on your trading bag. So if you do that, it's really not that risky. It's like, yeah, you just risk 2% of your bag, but that's what I would do. I usually don't ever follow the 2% thing. I almost always end up losing more, or and that also helped me make more money, obviously, but that's not proper risk management. So if you're listening for financial advice, which we're not giving, but any like leverage advice, don't go high lev ever. You're good. The chances of you getting fucked over by high leverage is more likely than you making like an insane amount of money.
And I'm just gonna say this: like, there are some pretty smart people on the opposite ends of your trade, market makers, that I would say more often than not, they are aware of where you stand in your position. And so I would just be super duper careful trading on any amount of leverage if you're not used to it. I would start with a paper account and just in practice for months. I stared at charts for thousands of hours before I actually started trading full time.
Would you
So
so let's say Solana hit $10 again. Would you ever like up the leverage? Because
um
I think
if I'm catching a falling knife, no. I like to trade in a range and I like to trade downtrend breaks. I don't like to catch falling knives because there's no way to know, what's going to happen. But I would not use leverage if it dropped to like $10. But if it was trading at $10 for like 2 months straight or something, then I would use leverage and play within that range, if that makes sense. So
yeah,
I would
because
not try to catch any falling knife. No.
okay, all right, yeah, that's a fair point. Because if like I feel like if you think so, like let's say Bitcoin hits like 12K or something, which is pretty low, right? For Bitcoin, probably won't happen. But let's just say it does hit 12K. In theory, if you take a 2x leverage play, you won't get liquidated unless Bitcoin hits $6,000, which is super unlikely. So it's so enticing because it's like, dude, you can literally double your position by just adding a little bit of leverage. And obviously, don't do the whole bag, right? Maybe do a little bit, but Solana is obviously more volatile than Bitcoin is. So I wonder, do you have like a Solana bottom price where you're just like, if I see Solana at $3, bro, I might have to 5x lev. I might have to.
No, I don't see it ever going to $3. You will never see it at $3. I don't think
Yeah,
you'll
no,
ever see it at $10.
I don't think it'll ever hit $3 either. But
I
like,
think any bear, anyone that thinks it's actually going to go to $10 is just praying to whatever unholy god that exists that maybe it'll go down there. Like, they're just begging for it to go down. But I promise you, unless there's some insane black swan event.
well,
Like,
isn't the U.S. government selling off Bitcoin right now that they got from Silk Road? Like, aren't they making 5 sales and the second sale is coming soon?
No, I mean, the thing is that a lot of this. So I don't know the exact details at the moment, but what I will say is that, like, for example, the Ethereum Foundation, like, put aside, like, I think it was 15,000 Ether that they were going to sell, and everyone kind of got nervous about that. But when you think about that, 15,000 Ether is only $30 million, and I guess, okay, well,
Yeah,
only 30 million.
yeah, in context, yeah, it gets absorbed by the
But when you
market.
look at the context of volume and, like, all the market makers that we have, it's just not a big deal. Like, it just doesn't matter. And so,
So that doesn't that the thing is what you're saying, I agree with, but you're also under the assumption that markets act rationally. The one fundamental flaw of economics is that it assumes everybody's a rational
are you trying to tell me about the market? I've traded this
No,
market
no, no.
over
No,
4 years, bro.
I'm just
Four
saying.
years, bro.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. The narrative could be that the U.S. is dumping and shit goes crazy, and people think irrationally and panic sell. That's what I'm saying. Like a panic sell-off could occur from maybe the government selling Bitcoin or Ether. Maybe that's not what it is, but something else could cause a panic sell, and and obviously if Bitcoin drops drastically, altcoins will follow, and that's what, like, to $10, that's only a 50%, only quote unquote only a 50% decrease from now. So I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Is it likely? Maybe not. Is it possible? I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I'm just gonna tell you right now that I wouldn't worry about all that stuff. There's no way Solana is going to, like, unless there's a crazy, like, black swan event. Even if the U.S. has sold plenty of times before on exchanges, it's not a big deal. This is nothing new. Um, but the idea that Solana would go to $10, like, you look at the market capitalization. The only time it'll ever go to single digits again is if there's a crazy black swan event, and it only went to $8 because there was a crazy black swan event. FTX capitulated and it imploded, and pretty much every VC was selling off their holdings because they just didn't want anything to do with it anymore. Alameda was also selling off because, you have to prepare for, like, the legal battle ahead, right? Like, so that's what ended up happening. I would go on record to say that there is no chance it will go to $10 ever again. I think that chance is long gone. Anyone that is thinking that's going to happen they're just wrong. I'm sorry. Like,
What do you think? Do you think it'll touch 13 again, like 16 again?
like maybe it touches, maybe, but the thing is there's so much demand at $20, and when it dumped to $16, it was quickly bought up, like, in spades. So, it dumped to 16 recently, but it's just like, you know, if it does get down there, it would be bought up so quickly. The thing is that everyone kind of knows at this point that this is going to be the de facto smart contracts platform, I would say. And if you look at the market capitalization of this project, if you look at like, if you look at the Solana token, I guess we can look at market cap right now. It only has a market cap of 11 billion compared to Ethereum right now. So is like at last I checked, yeah, it's the current market cap of ETH is 220 billion. So ETH is like a 22x ahead of Solana.
Yeah.
And we're all thinking that Solana is going to become the next big smart contracts platform. Like it's almost a certainty to me that there's no way anyone would seriously not buy it up immediately or not have positions ready to buy that up
The
as
only
soon as
counter
possible.
argument, the only real counter argument I have to that is why is Solana hovering around $20 then? Like why is it not pumping even more?
So I don't really know, to be honest. The thing is people have talked about sellers T-whopping into price. People have talked about all sorts of things, validators taking profit. There's all sorts of reasons it could be. There's also the fact that Solana does kind of follow Bitcoin and Ethereum's price pretty carefully, and so if Ethereum goes down and Bitcoin goes down, then confidence in Solana goes down by association. But I think long term, everyone kind of knows that if crypto succeeds and if it becomes the marketplace for all things that we decide to transact on, then this is like the only one that makes any kind of sense. And so for it to go back down to $10, like, dude, I know people that like I would be willing to drop six figures, like for sure, if it goes back down there. Like I go to the bank and just be like, all right, let's just fucking make this happen. Like because I mean immediately that's an automatic 10,000 plus Solana in the bag, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Like if you look at what happened when it got down to $8, there was a lot of fear and uncertainty, and it just got blown the fuck out. Like I know people who were shorting that at like $10, $8 that thought that it was actually going to go to zero, and they just got absolutely destroyed when it pumped all the way to 25. Like to me, that'll never happen again. The only way that'll ever happen again is, like I said, I've said it like 5 times.
What if we go to war?
Error.
What if we go to war?
Yeah. So if we go to war, then there's like an argument for store value, right? So it's like, do you trust the dollar
usually
in a time of
markets.
war?
Yeah, usually markets pump, but I feel like the pump always comes after a drastic drop.
No, yeah. So there would be some kind of drop, and then there would be a rush to stores of value because people don't really trust the dollar during times of war. It's like, do we really want to trust something that, if our government loses, wouldn't the valuation of that asset go down? And the answer is probably yes. And so, yes. The trust in the, I guess the belief that the dollar will succeed would definitely drop during a time of war. And so assets that don't necessarily have an allegiance to any particular fiat currency, such as Bitcoin, I think would be fine. So maybe there's some weird, Omega nuke, but I wouldn't count on it. You know what I mean? Like,
I hear you. Yeah.
It's just not worth it to
me. It's definitely safer. I think it's definitely safer to DCA into Sol at $20 here. So NFA, right, not financial advice, but Solana's ATH was 260. So if you get in at 20 and you think Solana will reach its all-time high again, that's an instant 13x. Like what? Like what better trade? What better trade is there right now than every $100 you drop, you essentially will get 1,300 back at all-time high.
Yeah, so that's like, yeah, so there's that, and then there's also the idea that it is going to be the de facto smart contracts platform, and if it is, then there's an argument to reach Ethereum's market cap of its all-time high during the peak of the
what would the price per coin be of that? Do you know?
Yeah, so Ethereum's market cap at its all-time high was I want to say it was around
wasn't half a
trillion. Yeah,
so I think it was $557 billion. I think I looked up the other day.
Yeah, if it's 557 billion, so I'll just put that into my calculator real quick, and we divide that by the current circulation of.
Because everyone on Twitter, on Solana Twitter, is like $1,000 Sol is priced in. If you know, a few. It's always.
Yeah, so if you type in the current circulating supply, I'll just do the total supply, just to make it simple. So there's 539 million Solana. So if you divide, okay, hold on. If you
That's
divide
close.
that by,
That's over 1,000
yeah,
Solana.
it's about
What's the circulating supply?
of Solana, it's 395 million 274,000. So that would probably put it around 1,250 ish. So, like, it's just to me, it's like it's a
So
super obvious
could be
bet.
could in theory, so $20 to $1,000 is what, 50x,
Yeah.
and
So,
then
well, so that would put it at 1,400, which divided by the current price right now, which is like 20.75 or
70x.
something. That's
So
still, yeah, it's about a 70x. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
those numbers are
68,
just.
but whatever.
I've been waiting. I've been waiting for it to go down, right? Like we talked about it earlier. I think it was yesterday. I pretty much gave you my take profits and like how much money I want to make, assuming it does go that low. But I would feel so fucking stupid if I missed sold at $20 and then it's at 1,000 2 to 3 years from now. So I think I'm gonna start DCAing.
So
I also
well, yeah, there's no harm in just like, well, in my opinion, there's no harm in just in DCAing and just getting. I was DCAing since November of last year, so like I've got a pretty nice allocation. I'm fine, and
yeah.
so I felt like the bottom, that was almost certainly the bottom. Like when FTX just imploded, I was like, oh fucking yes, give
Did
me
you buy
all my
more?
Solana. Oh, fuck yeah. Are you kidding me? I was like, I can't believe that we actually have an opportunity to buy sub $20. And I was just buying all the way down. I was
I
like,
want
oh, of course. Yeah.
to preface as NFA again for like probably the millionth time. This is not financial advice. I think what I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna DCA into Sol and Aury token because Aury at what 50 cents right now. Like even though there is a chance that it drops to what like 25 cents maybe.
Yeah, the VCs got in at 22 cents. And so realistically, the VCs probably aren't going to sell below 22 cents. Maybe they keep on selling anyway. But my thinking, my suspicion is that yeah, they're just going to keep on selling until they're out of they're out of their Aury token, because these VCs unfortunately are just they're not really they're not here for the good of the game. They're more like just these VCs that just wanted to jumpstart the project and get paid off for it, which kind of
Yeah.
sucks ass, but it is what it is. But this kind of information asymmetry, basically, we were talking about this, how people are more interested in things that have a lot of hype and a lot of volume, but when you look at something like Aury, which doesn't have a lot of hype and a lot of volume and the price isn't going up, people aren't really paying attention. But it's during these periods of time where,
This
where
is where
information,
people get
yeah,
rich.
this is where this separates the men from the boys, right? Like the boys right now are just like looking around, like, they're just like, what's the next NFT mint or meme coin that's going to 100x? But like, that's what they're focused on. They're focused on the volume. But there is going to come a time where Aury is just going to absolutely blast off, and then everyone's going to end up FOMOing in afterward, and they're just going to have to suck it up and deal, and it is what it is. But until that time comes, like, no one's really given it any serious thought or attention. They're just like, oh, whatever. But so that's why when I get like, okay, I had the option to buy between Mad Lads, because I could have swept Mad Lads at like 30 Sol and sold at 100, right? Like that would have been like a smart thing to do. But I was like, no, there's no shot that I'm going to miss the opportunity or take the risk of not just getting my allocation in early, because I know that the likelihood that this project succeeds is so high compared to anything else on Solana that it's not even close. It's there's no NFT project that comes anywhere close except maybe Clanosaurus, like in terms of actually breaching outside of Web3 and reaching a Web2 audience, so to speak, like actually making it to theaters, actually making it to video, to movies, to games. It's only those two really, in my opinion, that stand any close any chance of a shot of doing it. And like Aurory is just so obviously undervalued. And then when you look at like other projects that succeeded in GameFi, like Axie, and you compare the market capitalizations, it's like, dude, this is such an obvious gold mine, and people just aren't paying attention. That I'm like, I was instantly more interested in loading up on Aurorians and Aury than Mad Lads. Even though Mad Lads just had so much more hype, I was like, no, I need to get at least 100 of these because I know one day that I'm going to be like one of the 10 kings that rules over fucking Tokane. Okay, like that. That's just facts. Like literally, me, Kavak, like Jonas, like there's like and 7 other whoever's are gonna have such a big supply of that shit, and we're literally gonna be able to fund like esports teams probably if we want to. Like that's the kind of craziness that's gonna come out of this, and it's to me it's like inevitable, like it's gonna happen, and so like that's a lot more interesting to me than anything else. But I think right now Sol is a much more interesting play in terms of going up in price. But I think Aury is like to me, Aury has the biggest chance of being that 100x token right
Yeah.
now in the Solana ecosystem. There's nothing that comes close. So
Yeah.
it's either
As
Sol
as you
or
were
Aury, yeah.
as you were talking,
Yeah.
because of your influence, I just bought 48 Solana. Because I was like, I have to get it.
Yeah, no, it's just you don't really know what's going to happen. There's a chance that the market nukes here, and like you're going to feel bad or whatever. But like,
That's why I only bought 48 though, because I'm like
yeah,
I could have bought more, but I'm like let me just
yeah,
get a little bit because I feel like at $20 it's such a steal, but I
yeah.
also feel like I missed like how sunk cost fallacy works, obviously, right? I saw Sol at $8 and I was like, yo, it might hit 3. Let me just buy up at 3, and then I ended up not buying any of
Oh,
this shit.
everyone was thinking that, dude. I promise you, literally everyone else was thinking that. It's like, oh well, it could go lower, so let's do. But then eventually, there's some big whale that just says no. This is the price
Yeah,
point that I want to get in
exactly.
at. I'm setting the bottom right here, and that's what Vitalik did. So I don't know, like literally the bottom of Solana coincided with Vitalik Buterin making a post about how Solana was a legitimate community and blockchain, and
Shout
that
out
there's
Vitalik, man.
yeah. So
You
shout out
know,
to that guy. But that
do
was
you,
that was the bottom, and it's never to me. It's never going back there. Yeah, what were you saying?
did you ever see Vitalik's tweet when he tweeted at somebody with an Aurorian PFP?
No, no.
Okay, whenever you get a chance, just go to my pinned tweet and it probably
Oh,
blow your mind.
really?
Yeah.
Let me see this. Okay, I'm checking out your tweet right now, or your Twitter. This isn't. Wait, your pinned tweet. This is an awful idea. Wait, what are you talking about?
Yeah, yep. Yeah. Click that, scroll all the way up. There should be 2 tweets above it, and then look at the the reply.
Okay. Well, this is. This looks like an Elon Musk tweet.
Yeah, the very first tweet is Elon. Second one should be Sahil, the founder of
Yeah.
Gumroad. Then it's me, and then look who randomly replies to my tweet.
Oh, Vitalik is replying to you. What the
Just
hell?
randomly. Yeah, I didn't tag him. I didn't. He wasn't part of the conversation. It was only Elon and Sahil Lavingia. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. So he literally randomly tweeted at me once, and when that happened, I had an Aurorian PFP. That was like my I forget which one it was, but I had an Aurorian, and that was my profile picture at the time. And if you read like the quote tweets, there's some of them are so fucking funny, and obviously it's Vitalik, so like you can imagine the people that are replying to him, right? Like especially all the crypto people that are replying.
Yeah.
That was a crazy time.
Yeah. That's a. This is a mega level tweet, dude. This is damn.
You
That's
know
a
what's
lot of
even
engagement.
you know what's funny too? Oh, can you see the views on that tweet? I don't know if you can see like old views.
No, I can't see old views.
I have more I'm just saying I have more likes than how many likes does Sahil have on the tweet? He blocked me, so I can't even see his shit.
2,682 likes.
Oh yeah, so I have more likes than him and Vitalik. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
Yeah, looks like you ratioed that guy.
You know what's so
Uh,
funny? You know what's so funny? Okay, I didn't think I would be talking about this today, but that's the Sahil dude, right? He's the founder of Gumroad, and Gumroad is a payment platform that a lot of startups use. And I only know him because I tried launching a startup years ago. So I tweeted this before I went to work. I was on my fork truck. I look at my phone and then it says Sahil. I think his name was only Sahil at the time. I don't think his last name was there. It says Sahil DM'd you. And I'm like, what? So I check my phone and then he shared Vitalik's tweet at me and he just goes, "Thank you for this." And then I'm like, dude, thank you. I replied to you. But the way he was looking at it, he was like, "Oh, you tweeted at me, which caused Vitalik to tweet at all of us." And then we were DMing back, bro. It was so funny. I would reply to tweets, and then like tweets that he's not even tagged in. I think he would share the tweet back to me and be like, "Oh, you messed up by saying this. You should have said this." And I'm like, "Dude, what the fuck? Like, how do you have this much time?" And then one of the tweets, somebody tweeted at me, and then I said I ratioed them all word for word, and then he blocked me because of that tweet. So like,
That's so weird. I think he was just, I don't know. Oh, well, okay. In fairness, you're the one. You told him that. Well, you ratioed him when you said that synthetic wombs or whatever was not good or whatever.
yeah,
And so obviously, he kind of, you probably was miffed about that and was trying to get back at you before finally blocking you or something. I don't know. That's some weird childish shit. But either way, like, life goes on. So he just needs to chill the fuck out.
yeah. I didn't
Yeah.
care. I thought it was funny. You know what else is hilarious at the time? I had at the time of my tweet, in my bio, it said, I don't remember exactly what it said, but in the middle of my bio, it said former Ethereum maxi. So I always wonder, there's no chance like Vitalik clicked my profile and saw that and then decided to tweet at me. I just think it's funny and coincidental that when he tweeted at me, I one had a Solana PFP and two had former ETH maxi in my bio. What a time.
Yeah. No,
And
I mean,
I still get notifications daily for this fucking tweet. Because at first it gained a lot of traction because I just tweeted at Elon, so obviously like his followers are gonna see it and like it. Like I tweeted at a good time, so I ended up muting the fucking tweet. So I never even got the notification that Vitalik tweeted at me. I only saw it because of the Sahil dude that he DM'd me.
funny. No, but yeah. So I mean, Vitalik is yeah, Vitalik basically set the bottom of Solana. To bring this back around full circle. And I don't know. It is what it is. So I would say it's not going back down there, dude. I'm sorry. It's just not going back down there. It ain't
If it
happening.
doesn't, if all right, here's this. If it
Okay.
doesn't go back down, I really hope that you're right about it hitting $1,000 because I one of my take profits is a few of my take. One was ATH, right? One I kind of wanted to load off earlier at like $100 to just kind of get my principal out there and just if there's anything like in real life that I need to take care of, like $100 sold, take it out and then like fix everything, or at least like if I feel like if I take my principal out, I'll let this shit fly. Like I won't even care. But I would also have other take profits. But if I'm buying in at 20, I could just kind of get rid of the first few take profits and then just sell heavily at like 400, so above ATH, or maybe a little bit at ATH, and then sell,
You know,
but keep
I
most
would
of it.
just I would just pick a number that you want to sell it at, and I would try to stick to that and not really think too much else about it. I mean, DCAing out is also not.
I think I need like levels though. Like I feel like I need to be like, all right, let me unload 1/3 or 1/4 or 1/5 at this price point, and like I feel like they all need reasons why. I think the first take profit is super easy because I could be like, hey, I'm just taking my principal out. If I put X amount in, I wait however long, I'd sell it after taxes. I get my principal back and some, and then like I'm always in the green. So I feel like the take profit level 1 is super easy to justify and think about. I think ATH is an obvious one, and then everything after that is kind of risky. It's like, will it even hit? Like we think 1,000, but everybody thinks 1,000. So will we be front run, and will it only hit like $770? Like we don't know.
It's there's no way to know for sure. Selling tops is not something I've been historically good at, but at the end of the day, I would just like if you hit your number, you hit like I would say if you hit six figures, I mean, if your initial principal is like I don't know, what would your principal be like by the time you're fully invested? Like, what do you think is?
Let's see. Um, it's a hard question. Let's say let's say 10 to 20K. So if I somehow manage to buy, if I somehow manage to acquire 20K that I can invest and Solana is still around $20 somehow, then definitely like 20K. But I think 10K is for
I think
sure.
I think the expectation should be if you buy in 20,000 ish like right here, and you have like 1,000 SOL, um, I would try to take profit around 300 to 50 to. I mean, if it breaks its all time high, that's a big if. If it breaks its all time high, I personally would be like okay with walking away with 300,000 to $400,000 and just saying okay that's it. And I wouldn't get any greedier than that because the upside to being in that position is not as great once it's already extended that high. There is a chance it could 2x from there and you could close out for 800, right? But at the same time, it's like, well, you can just kind of wait for the next bull run to happen and then reinvest once the lows are like really in. You know what I mean? And so that's when you make the generational wealth, you know, in like not this bull run, but like the one after where you've already, assembled a pretty significant, portfolio by that point. But if you're kind of running on 20, I would say just, if it does reach that all time high price point again and it breaks it, I would say don't get too greedy. Just take profit and don't. I would avoid chasing anything. But I mean, to be honest with you, I started out with 20,000 and I did a bunch of crazy trades into eventually turning it into over a million.
Yeah.
So the truth is I mean, you could do something like that too, but I think the easiest route, the most obvious route to me is just to hold Solana, to be honest, because it's just such an obviously good play. It's
Yeah.
super obvious. Nothing's ever been more obvious to me in my life.
I
So
want to allocate maybe 10 to 20% of my Solana bag into either Sol tokens or NFTs. I think I would want to be more liquid though. So I don't know if I'll, because the thing with buying NFTs is like they're traded in terms of Solana, right? So it's like the price almost never like it does fluctuate obviously, but sometimes like if you look at if you look at like Aurory, right, it's still hovering at like 25-ish Sol, and that's like the same Sol price that it was like 2 3 years ago. So like I feel like buying liquid tokens might be a better investment and better ROI. So I want like if I drop 20K into Sol, maybe 2K of that should go to Aury token and
I
maybe
mean,
like
so my thinking is that Aurorians might go to 100 to 200 Sol. Um, I think that's almost a certainty. Um,
yeah, which is the thing is so let's say 100 Sol, right? We could say both. So 100 or 200 Sol. So that's the same exact ROI. That's actually a lower ROI than Sol just going to ATH. Like
it's
a
not.
Sol to ATH is a 13x. So
No, you're not thinking about it. You're just- okay, think about it this way, all right? You bought the Aurorian at 25 Sol, and it's at
yep.
$20. So right now it's $500.
Yeah,
So
no, no.
let's say
I get what you're saying, but what are the chances that it's at 100 or 200 Sol at ATH? Because if
oh
that's
super oh yeah, super high. Are you kidding me? So did you see what SMB was at like for its
I
all-time
feel
high?
like
Like
I mean, usually when the price of Solana goes up, and if the under the I feel like I feel like NFTs are traded in like terms of the dollar value too. So if Sol goes up, it'll cost less Sol to buy the NFT. Obviously,
okay, no,
there's cases where that's not true, but I feel like for the most part, and if I had to make a bet, I'd rather just spend the money on the Sol and just. But I guess it is a double-sided bet, right? It's because if you buy Sol at this and a 13x's, but if Aurory itself 10x's, your initial principal 130x's. So okay, I guess that makes sense.
yeah, no, so I mean like so people see NFTs as like leveraged long bets on Solana without um without actually having to take out leverage per se. And so, like, if Aurory appreciates in value from 25 Sol to 200 Sol, the Aurorians, then you've made an 8x on the Solana value of that token, and so that is 100. That's a billion times better than like just holding raw Solana. But the thing is that the price of Aurorians could also go down, right, in soul value. So that's the risk that you're taking. But the thing is, for me, is that this is like a certainty because Aurory is like the biggest team in Solana NFTs. It has over 60 devs working on the project, and GameFi is almost to me, GameFi is a certainty of being a narrative in the next bull run. And there's going to be a ton of blockchain games that people are going to be playing, and it's not going to be just Axie that's at the helm. There's going to be a ton of other ones, and so to me, the likelihood of people aping into Aurorians during a GameFi bull run is 100% going to happen. And so the soul value is going to be more than 25 soul. That's like a certainty. And so if it goes to 200 soul, and then on top of this, we think soul goes to like $500, then all of a sudden that $500 investment just became $100,000, right? So 200 times 500 is, yeah, that's $100,000. So I mean, and okay, do we think that it's actually going to go to $100,000? I think so. So having looked at the, I'm trying to find the chart for Solana Monkey Business, but I'm pretty sure Solana Monkey Business went to like 150, perhaps even 200 soul per monkey. Yeah. I think it was like 200 soul per monkey and 100 soul per degen ape. Like at one point, when Solana was just breaking out towards its all-time high. So if you think that it's not going to happen, think again. It's going to happen.
It's funny. I'm in a weird dichotomy where like, so one reason I try staying away from like reading too much into crypto or listening to too much stuff is because I feel like I become so fucking bullish and like I get this overwhelming sense of like FOMO where I'm like, because even after this conversation, I'm like, dude, Sol's only $20. I'm like, if last bull run, if you asked me if Sol ever touches 20 again, I would just dump everything. I'll take the if I had a house, if I had a mortgage, I'm taking the mortgage loan.
So I have a bit of a, like, I will confess, like, I mean, sometimes I get a little carried away with my level to market with my soul. I have a bit of a silver tongue when it comes to marketing and and talking people into investments. 100%. But I also speak with a lot of conviction, and I only talk about this stuff when I really believe in it. So I think that actually amplifies that effect. I would say definitely, like, don't lose sight of the goal. Don't lose sight of a trade. Don't let the fundamentals that I present affect your analysis of what you think or what you hope is going to happen. But I'm just speaking about my opinion and what I think is going to happen, and I think it's a certainty that $20 soul is a fucking gift. I think anything even close to this level at this point in time is like, if we believe blockchains are actually going to work out and this is going to be a fruitful investment, then this is probably the greatest time to be alive right now.
I agree. This is like I always said that I wish in 2008 I wasn't 11 years old and I could have took advantage of the markets, but I was 11 years old, so I couldn't. But now at the ripe age of 26, in this time period, this seems like almost the perfect buying opportunity because everybody. I work in a. I think I mentioned it last time. I work in finance, and everybody I work with, not everybody, but probably 95% of the people are kind of skeptical of crypto. So it's like we are so fucking early. Where like if we get, man, that's how do I? So long.
So yeah, I mean, we can. I'll try to put this in. I'll try to articulate this for you. Basically, there's so many assets right now that have appreciated so much in value that it's not possible to get in early anymore for things like real estate, for things like stocks and equity.
Dude, you can't even buy a fucking house. Like just a house you want to live in is fucking impossible.
Yeah. Gen Z and the millennials and even some of Gen X, like we're all screwed, right? It's like there's no way to get in early unless you become like, unless you get that loan and you're stuck paying that loan for the rest of your life. You built up the nest egg and you don't have that much money. That's what the common man has to deal with every day. Like if you were not born with a silver spoon. But to me, this is the big opportunity. And that's not financial advice again, but like based on previous TA, based on history, based on the skepticism and like the information asymmetry that's happening here, where it's like we do know that this is a working product and we do believe in blockchains. Like to me, this is like the most obvious bet of the decade,
Yeah.
or at least of the next 4 years in
Yeah,
blockchain in the
you
industry.
mentioned earlier that I shouldn't take I shouldn't let your standpoint
Yeah.
maybe alter my perception. But the thing is, the worst part about this is the dichotomy I have is that I
Yeah.
fully fucking agree with everything you
Yeah.
say. And if you like literally if you asked me at ATH if like what I would do if I saw Sol, I think if I might be able to find a tweet where I said like if Sol goes under $100 again, I'm gonna go crazy. And now here it is at 20 and I'm
Dude,
kind of stagnant.
I'm telling you, everyone, okay. The best way to look at it is just to look at market capitalization, look at how much you think it could go up from here, and pull the trigger. Because
I personally think so for for top coins, I think Bitcoin, ETH, Sol, BNB, or Sol and BNB can be flipped. I think that's where it eventually converges to. I think those will be the top four coins. I think Bitcoin will almost always be number one. Maybe in a weird case, 20 to 30 years from now, maybe ETH flips Bitcoin, maybe. But I don't. I think Bitcoin's gonna always be there. The fight for 3, 4, and 5 is I think Sol hits 3. I think Sol hits 3. And BNB, I just have a strong feeling BNB is always going to stay up there too, just because they're literally backed by the biggest crypto exchange ever, and we have no idea what CZ's plotting right now.
wait, sorry. What about CZ?
We have no idea what he's like thinking about, like what type of strategies he has to make sure BNB appreciates in value.
Oh, I'll be honest. So BNB chain and BNB or what's it called, Binance Smart Chain. I mean, Binance Smart Chain is just an EVM. It's just an Ethereum fork basically, and so it has all the same limitations that pretty much Ethereum has. And so to me, I don't really see it going anywhere too much. They might pump capital into it and it might pump as a
It's
project, and
the
there's
thing
that.
is it's number 4 right now too. So it's like it goes Bitcoin, ETH, Tether, BNB, and then I think it's Coinbase's stable coin, and then number 6 is like what? I think it's still Ripple, right? Ripple or Cardano, which is fucking hilarious. Like I think Solana's gonna swipe the fuck out of those
So
eventually.
I think BNB just has a lot of, they had the buy and burns, they had all that stuff going on for it. But I do think the return on investment is much lower than pretty much anything else, or much lower than Solana. And I guess in terms of its like utility, it does have a fair amount of utility with being able to be used for BNB chain as well as BSC, but it's just BSC really doesn't have much traction. BNB chain also doesn't really have much traction. The only times that they organically had a lot of traction was when there was like Pancake Swap, and they pumped up a lot of the DeFi on there. They invested their own money into some of these contracts. But I would actually argue that a lot of the funding that they provided for BSC they ended up losing most of it simply because no one really uses it. No one really uses
Yeah,
that money.
I agree. I don't like the last the last
But
time I
like,
used something on BNB is when I bought SafeMoon.
yeah,
That's the last time.
yeah. Oh God, safe man. So I think that, but like when you think about like, do you see anyone in the BNB community representing NFTs on Twitter? No, like you
No,
don't
but
see
that's the thing too.
the
That's
only
why I'm
people
kind
you
of bullish
yeah.
though. That's not to cut you
No,
off.
no,
My bad.
stop, dude. No,
Hear me out. Hear
no.
me out. Hear me out.
Oh my
We
God.
don't even fucking see. We don't see BNB anywhere, right? Nobody tweets about it. Nobody has BNB NFTs. Some people sometimes talk about PancakeSwap and like shitcoins on BNB, but it's almost unheard of. Maybe we're on the wrong side of like. Obviously, we're kind of in an echo chamber with like who we're following and things of that nature. So maybe this is a very ignorant standpoint. But I don't see anything related to BNB, and its market cap is still almost $50 billion, and it's number 4 on the
Well,
charts right now.
it's a way to go long on Binance, and Binance is the biggest chain. It's also the biggest exchange, and I think
The
this.
way
I th-
CZ just publicly fucking assassinated Sam from FTX with those tweets, I'm bullish on it. I'm bullish on Binance. just based off that. We've never in history seen anything like that where the CEO of the biggest exchange assassinates the second biggest exchange is CEO. Like
I just think that like when you look at BNB and it's 50 billion, and then it's like, okay, we know Ethereum went to 500 billion during the last bull run. It's like how much does it really have legs to run? I don't think so, man. So and then also like it's like when you're on Twitter and you're looking at all these Twitter posts, like you see the Ethereum bugs, you see them, but like
yeah.
you do not see BNB bugs anywhere. You don't see any BNB bugs. You don't see any BNB NFTs. You don't see anything like that. It's either Solana or Ethereum. And everyone on Ethereum is slowly coming to terms with the idea that, you know what? I think actually it's probably going to be Solana that everyone uses.
I think the
Like
funniest Ethereum cope is when people are like, "Oh, it's good that gas fees are so high. This makes this a deflationary
it's
asset."
so dumb.
I think
It's
that's the
dumb.
absolute funniest one.
It's the biggest cope I've ever seen in my entire life. This is coming from someone who made crazy amount. I made a lot of money in DeFi summer 2020. Like I was there in the trenches paying high gas fees with the other Ethereum degenerates. Like I made money off ETH. I loved ETH for what it did, but it's very clear and so obvious that there's only one smart contracts platform that is going to be adopted on a mass scale, and the only one that's even remotely ready for it, and it's Solana. And so like they're all going to come to terms with that. All the little guys are going to come here. Everyone's going to come here. To me, it's a certainty. And so BNB is just BNB. I don't even know. It's not even in the discussion.
I think
There's no community.
so. I think so when I try making these calls, I almost never go technical, and it's almost pretty much not even fundamental. Like the way I look at it is kind of a very extrapolated viewpoint. So like I literally like my reason for BNB to always be around is one, we never hear about it and it's still number 4, and two, I think the fucking CEO of Binance I think he's super well orchestrated. Like he's super, what's a better word for that? He's super intentional. Like all the after seeing the tweets that he made about FTX maybe being insolvent, then him saying, "Oh, I'll buy FTX if the numbers are good." Oh, never mind, the numbers fucking suck. And then FTX just collapsed after. Like none of that has anything to do with technical analysis at all. But for those reasons, I'm fucking bullish on BNB. Just that alone, I'm bullish. It's kind of like this is funny, and it might not relate, but did you watch the Gervonta Davis versus Ryan Garcia fight?
No. Or
So
I heard that Ryan Garcia lost. That's all I know.
yeah. So the thing is, Tank Davis, when he came out, when on his walk in, he came out with Chief Keef, and then when everybody saw that, we're like, he's winning. He came out with Chief Keef. It's something that literally has nothing to do with the fight, but it signals that it's a weird signal in like human psychology. I seen it. I'm like, there's no way this motherfucker loses. Now he just brought out Chief Keef, and he's saying Love Sosa on the way in. So when I see the crypto, the CEO of Binance do some crazy shit like that to Sam, rest in peace. There's no way I can't not be bullish. Maybe it's not number
Dude,
4, but BNB I think will always be like up there. Even bro, I don't use BNB. I'm not invested in BNB. I don't ever plan on buying BNB, but I do think it'll always be like top 10, and I can see it literally being top 5.
when I look at BNB, I'm just like, if it has a $50 billion market cap, I'm just like, there's no way it's going to be above 500 billion. Or if it is, it's not going to be that much higher. So that's only a 10x from here. Like, I think I already said this, but like, it's like, is it even worth betting on? Not really. Like, I think it's just better to bet on something everyone else is going to use that's like underpriced.
Yeah,
Like,
but think about it this way, right?
like
My
if
bad.
nobody's if nobody's talking about it, if nobody like on Twitter is even mentioning it, like literally nobody is talking about BNB. Like it's just Absolutely no one. But you have to think about the crowd effects of that, right? It's like the word of mouth. Like who are when you go outside and you're hanging out with your friends, like, and you're talking about cryptocurrency, you're talking about what blockchains you're bullish on, and you're going to mention Solana, right? No one at all says BNB, except maybe like some VC funds that want direct exposure to like Binance's like buy and burns. But like when you think about it, it's like what are the network effects going to be when everyone else is telling everyone else, yeah, Solana's the one, right? That's what makes it super interesting to me, because the community from the ground up is like very organically driven to use this chain because they understand that it's superior to everything else. And so it's like when you think about all the word of mouth that's going to happen, all the discussions, all the volume that's going to come to the chain, it's like, does this have a higher potential? Like, absolutely. But with BNB, it's like whatever, you know what I mean? Nobody's talking about it. Just no one cares. Is it going to do anything? I don't know.
I hear you, and I do agree, but 2 points. So if BNB does go to like a $500 billion market cap, for Solana to catch up from here, it would literally have to like 60x just to catch up, right? And then if it flips it, obviously it would have to do more than a 60x. So that would be Solana at around $1,200, like 1250-ish. So pretty much the same price we said earlier, funny enough. But number two, what if that's calculated by CZ, where he's not even like he has a marketing plan to create hype, but he's not doing it yet because we're in a bear market, and he already has a top 4 coin. Like those are things I'm thinking about. It's like, yeah, nobody's talking about it now, but imagine what's the population of China right now? Like
it's a lot. It's over 1 billion. It's like 1.3, 1.4 or something.
So how much, if he just markets just in China, right? He has, obviously not just in China, but if he does, there's no way this dude doesn't have a marketing plan, bro. To me, he's a fucking genius. Like, outside looking in. In terms of pure value, I don't see BNB having as much value as Solana or ETH. Funny enough, in terms of just pure value is a bad word because I'm going to compare it to Dogecoin. The community backing behind Dogecoin is so insane that I can see Dogecoin being worth more than BNB. So but I think when we look at coins and stuff, we can't just always think about the raw value that comes from it. Narrative is so fucking huge in especially in crypto. Like think about all the regional banks on last Monday. I think they were all down 30%, but if you looked at their financials, they were fine. There was no chance of insolvency for a lot of those banks, but they still dumped 30%, and that's purely off narrative.
But there's no guarantee that Dogecoin ends up being like the one that everyone goes with next time, right? It could be Pepe, it could be something else. Whereas Solana,
I don't think it's
clear.
I agree, but I think Pepe is just purely an internet thing, and Dogecoin is like, obviously Dogecoin started off as a meme, but it's a dog.
I just think that if you want to bet on something in crypto and you don't want your investment to go to zero, then you want to bet on something that you know that people are going to use. And this is a recurring theme that it follows all my market thoughts. You can either it's like, do you want to make money or do you want to be right? But more often than not, if you're right, you're still going to make money. Now, it might not be as much as longing Doge in 2021, right? Because people who bought the Doge bottom fucking and sold the top absolutely killed it, right? But it's like, but what was the likelihood of that actually happening? Because no one foresaw Doge actually getting to a top 10 market cap. Was like pretty much unheard of. No one expected it, and no one expected Elon Musk either to just pump that shit to the moon, right? So back in 2021, when you were looking at it, no one in the right mind would have said, yeah, let's just go all in on Doge. Very few people did that and succeeded. And so you can either bet on something that has no real utility and has no real use case, and then it ends up just going to zero, or you bet on something that everyone's going to use, and regardless of how well it performs, you still made money, right? And like that's kind of how I see this.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement with you when it comes to like being purely logical. Yeah, it's almost obvious that Solana is a pure bet, where something like my nose with how stuffy allergies are going fucking crazy today, but it's almost an obvious bet that Sol will appreciate more than BNB. I'm looking at the charts now, and it's actually kind of comical. Like, why is Tron TRX? Why is this number 12 still? Like, and why is Litecoin still 13? Like, none of it really makes sense to me.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is, a lot of this market really doesn't make sense. Tron
Dude,
is like one of the weirdest things.
ICP is 28. Internet Computer is 28 right now.
Yeah,
How is their life in ICP?
yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know. I should do more
Tron is
research.
one of those coins that I think if you short Tron, I I want to say that something similar to Luna can happen with Tron. I think I was reading about that a few months ago, but I don't know how accurate that was. We
What are
just
you
short
talking about?
Tron. Somebody, I won't even mention it just because I can't even. I mean, I obviously already did mention it. I won't expand because I don't really remember exactly what happened. But there was something. They said there was some sort of mechanism with Tron that could have the same Luna. It could collapse the same way Luna did.
No, that's not true. So Luna was like a clear Ponzi, and if USDT ended up getting shorted enough and getting, if it got sold off enough, they would just have to print like a bajillion Luna in order to sustain the price of UST, and
Yeah.
that's what ended up happening. But Tron has nothing like that. Tron has USDT on its chain, and a lot of people actually, from what I hear, actually transact using USDT. So props to them for doing that. I guess it's kind of a weird niche, but I guess that's what they do. Uh,
USDT.
yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of USDT volume on Tron, and so I guess that's like one of the reasons people use it. But in all honesty, I don't really I don't really understand the appeal or the interest in Tron, but uh, yeah, that's just it is what it is. There's communities behind everything, but it's not the de facto blockchain that people are going to use. This is also an Ethereum fork, just so you know.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But
How
yeah,
often do you short coins?
never. I don't short in
Never.
crypto. The only time I short is when I exit into US dollars, and I just feel uncomfortable about the market because I would, the amount of money you can make shorting is not quite as good as the amount you can make longing. For example, you can like, let's say you long Solana from $3 and it goes to 250 like it did. That's like a, what is it, like an 83x, right, from the bottom to the top. Whereas if you
Yeah.
short Solana from $260 um, towards $20, I mean, you're not quite making anywhere. That's only an 80% downswing. Um, so you're only getting like what 80% return unless you're using leverage. Whereas if you're longing, then you can get like an 80, you can get an 8,300% return, right? Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
No.
and the
Completely
problem
makes sense.
and the problem too is that this shit can just pump out of nowhere. Like to me, like shorting this market is just never safe. Like for example, there were those people who thought it was really brilliant to try to short Solana um, at $8, and they just got blown the fuck out. So I just never short. I just don't.
On the counter side to that, I did catch a falling knife because when Luna was collapsing, I did try longing Luna at a few different price points, and I just got liquidated overnight. I was doing 5x love plays on that because I'm like, there's no way it goes lower. And then, lo and behold, momentum does what momentum does, and it should just collapse to nothing.
Yeah, yeah. But either way, that's kind of my thoughts on the market. But what else did we want to talk about?
Um, I think we wrapped about everything up, which I mean we've been going for over 3.5 hours. So
Oh shit! That the editing on that is going to be actually, well, it's probably going to just be posted, right? So it probably we should
uh,
leave it as is. I don't know. We'll
mm,
see.
yeah, for the thing is, so the way I do it, I do have to listen back to everything just for the
Yeah.
timestamps. Just for the timestamps. Like but yeah, there's nothing we had to cut out. There was that one instance where you started talking about bonk and my recording cut off. So
Oh yeah.
hopefully that's salvageable. If not, we'll just leave the whole I guess we can just leave out that like 2 minutes of bonk talk. But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have anything else I want to talk about. I do want to thank you again for coming back on the podcast for sure. Do you have any closing remarks maybe?
Uh. So buy Solana. Okay.
NFA.
You want to buy Aury or NFA. Aurorians are dope. Degen apes are really cool. Okay. Clanosaurs are also really cool. SMB is probably going to be fine too. So if you're into NFTs, especially Solana NFTs, I don't necessarily disagree with buying an SMB. So those are probably pretty cool too. Aside from that, I mean, we're at the frontier of smart contracts platforms. This is all risky. It's all an experiment, and who knows what the hell is going to happen. But I think we're early. I think there's an opportunity here to make a ton of money, and so this, it might be worth the risk. It's up to you. This is not financial advice. Don't ape in. Also, don't buy meme coins. Those are terrible. Just don't do it. It's such a bad idea. So
Perfect way to end.
yeah.
Yeah, no matter who tweets this shit out, don't buy meme coins.
Like, just act responsibly. Buy stuff that actually has real utility, guys. Like, just don't buy that dumb shit. Like, if God. All right, yeah, that's it.
I think that's a good way to end it. I do have one question I want to ask you off podcast though.